difference is the healers. Looney running Mistweaver and Drainer running Holy Paladin. What do you feel in terms of who came out ahead here, Vinruki?
I'm not sure, but I think you're right. They definitely weren't expecting this particular matchup. I don't know who has the edge, honestly. I feel like the Paladin provides a lot of utility, especially with the Blessing of Protection. Blizzo's going to have to be really careful. Immediately, Blessing of Sacrifice comes in from Drainer in order to keep Jamie alive. He's taking quite a bit of initial damage. Life Cocoon gets traded out by Looney as well as Zeepai's under fire. And it looks to be that these two Elemental Shamans are going to be the target of choice.
Jamie and Zeepai under fire very early on. I would say overall, though, Zizon has used more cooldowns to stay alive, which puts them slightly behind. But Drainer bringing in that Repentance crowd control can be a nice counter to the Mistweaver, although he just seems to be struggling to simply heal at this point in the game, and that's going to matter a lot more than getting crowd control if you just lose the game outright. Jamie's having a difficult time getting counter pressure, but now is finally stabilized, back to full health. Looney with that Way of the Crane. They need to crowd control it as soon as possible. Who can lock down Looney is now the question. Doesn't look like anyone can. He was able to get a Way of the Crane off basically for free in that position. Drainer and Looney right next to each other. Looney engaging crowd control, and they try to back it up with some crowd control and Nerd Rage, unfortunately breaking it prematurely, so their setup is a little bit botched here from Wildcard Gaming. Touch of Death available for Blizzo still, and in this position that could be a deadly cooldown if Drainer is crowd controlled. We see Zizon leading an assault towards Zeepai. Drainer looking to secure crowd control. Perfect chain, although predicted by Looney with the Life Cocoon absorbing damage onto Zeepai. That prediction allows Zeepai to easily sit through the longest crowd control chain Zizon has available. Both teams playing at the highest level.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at mana, Looney actually was able to sit down, recover some of that mana by drinking, and that does give him a slight edge at this point. But the thing is, Drainer on that Holy Paladin, he has a lot of mana efficiency, especially when he's doing single target healing. And one thing I've noticed about Drainer is he is just not afraid to trade out cooldowns. He's already used Sacrifice, he uses Blessing and Protection, he uses Divine Shield. He's just trading out, he wants to stay ahead in this matchup. And at this point, I mean, Zizon has a pressure edge, but he is running out of cooldowns very quickly.
Oh, he's also cycling them together. Now Blessing of Sacrifice available. After that, he'll have Avenging Wrath. If he can cycle it so he always has one cooldown available, the Holy Paladin strength is their cooldowns, almost guaranteed survival with just having one of them. So as long as he keeps cycling and not overlapping too many of them at the same time, I don't think that his strategy is going to backfire too much. Big heal from Drainer, now looking for crowd control. He's been using Repentance on Blizzo almost in a peculiar fashion, and they've been breaking it. The crowd control attempts from both teams, in my opinion, is sloppy. They could be a lot more clean. I think the double paralysis attempt that Looney and Blizzo can bring in is a very effective strategy, although now they're actually going after Drainer, trying to punish that cooldown usage from earlier. They know that he doesn't have a Divine Shield, so they can focus fire him down and potentially find a kill. Blizzo is snaring Drainer in line of sight of Zeepai, but Zeepai gets clotheslined by Jamie, and now Blizzo Hammer just around the corner. Looney can't dispel him. Now in a full Repentance, Looney needs to move over, dispels that immediately, getting him back into the fight. Drainer has survived that attack unscathed at this point. Blessing of Sacrifice still available, although another swap to Drainer could be the end of his life. Curious when Wildcard Gaming decides to do that, or even if they do they have the courage to push forward and try and close the game out? Looney is crowd controlling Drainer. Jamie is still the focus target, although doing a good job stalling the pressure. Crowd controlling Blizzo at the same moment that his healer was unable to heal, so very well timed Lightning Lasso on Jamie's part. Both teams stabilizing. Slight mana lead for Looney at this point in the match. And aside from that, cooldowns are still even.
Yeah, cooldown's relatively even, and mana is relatively even as well. Both of these Windwalkers just relentlessly training down these Elemental Shaman. Who's going to get the pressure lead? Jamie trinkets out of the Lightning Lasso, trying to get out of line of sight. Drainer in a good position to heal him up, but he's just out of the line of sight. Blizzo doing a great job with high uptime, but that Divine Favor heal is just so potent. Jamie gets topped off, and we have a bit of a reset on hit points. Looney actually manages to sneak out of combat and drink once again, and that's one of the major differences in this matchup. If both Drainer and Looney haven't been drinking, Drainer would have a mana advantage, but Looney's been consistently able to get out of combat, reset his mana, and that's keeping his team in the fight.
Right, Blizzo making a big push here with Touch of Death. How is Drainer going to respond to the pressure? Avenging Wrath available, doesn't even look necessary. Lightning Lasso on Blizzo, and Zeepai is also stunned by Nerd Rage. So with the two damage dealers stunned and unable to commit damaging attacks. Very obvious that Zizon will survive, so they hold on to cooldowns, using crowd control to stall what could be a scary moment in the match. No significant errors yet from either team as we do get closer to dampening. Zizon engaging crowd control, but now getting counter-engaged on. Well done from Wildcard Gaming to flip this crowd control in their favor. Jamie on the run. Blizzo able to connect, but Zeepai's having a difficult time. Zeepai lining up Stormkeeper, a very powerful elemental shaman attack. As soon as he gets in a line of sight, he could blast somebody. And it looks like he actually wants to try and go after Drainer. Drainer, though, we've been maybe criticizing him for his cooldown usage, but he has cycled them very well to the point where now he is having them available again and able to save mana because of the cooldown cycling as a result. So I don't really blame him for the decision making so far. Blessing of Sacrifice during this burst attempt from Drainer once again, and he is going to use his shield wall as well to reduce damage that's redirected to him. I think that's well timed, although does leave him open to a swap. Zizon with pressure on 2 members. Looney struggling.
Yeah, all these lightning lassos, this matchup's looking like a rodeo. We're at 6% dampening. Drainer on half health. He, like you said, he used his magic damage reduction earlier on. Now he's very susceptible. He gets interrupted. Big burst damage. Divine Shield at the last second. Very nice attempt by Wildcard Gaming, forcing out major defensive cooldowns. Drainer barely able to hold on. He needs to be really careful. Blizzo's been doing a really good job with that interrupt, the spear hand strike, shutting him down and making those swaps really dangerous.
Here's another attempt to take down Blizzo by Zizon. Looney crowd controlled. Blizzo interrupted. Blizzo using Fists of Fury, and with the Honor Talent Turbo Fist can parry all attacks, so Nerd Rage, instead of attacking into that, rolls away from the Fist of Fury damage. Good reaction on Nerd Rage's part. Now going after Zeepai. Both Windwalkers pressuring the respective elementals. Bit of a mistake for Drainer and Nerd Rage to stack up. Blizzo gets a 2-for-1 stun. Now Drainer in a lot of trouble with Lightning Lasso fully channeled. Drainer ducking for cover. Nice Blessing of Protection denies the touch of death of Blizzo and the touch of Karma. Blizzo actually in a tough spot right now.
Yeah, he will survive with that life cocoon, but Jamie's still all over him. Lightning Lasso is going to be traded out. Zeepai with good backup. Drainer, though, if you look at his cooldowns, he's got nothing left. They just need one nice setup. Nerd Rage with Touch of Death has a huge opportunity to get some burst out, and you can see Blizzo, he's really vulnerable. He's got no touch of Karma. He's got no trinket. If they can get him in a leg sweep, you know, into a Lightning Lasso, any sort of combination like that, he could be vulnerable. It still seems like Zeepai is their main target. Drainer gets paralysis. Jamie in a little bit of trouble trying to get out of line of sight. Blizzo all over him. Both these elemental shamans could potentially fall. Nice wind shear coming in from Zeepai onto Drainer, interrupting his repentance, backing up Looney just a little bit, but ultimately Drainer does manage to find that crowd control, and Zeepai could be in some trouble.
I mean, both teams are in trouble at this point. Dampening keeps getting higher, the mana gets lower. Triple stun, beautifully done by Blizzo. Perfect execution. That's the crowd control that I wanted to see earlier in the fight. Drainer barely holding on as a result. Zizon cannot afford to make positional errors like that. If they stand together as 3 team members, an Elemental Shaman and a Windwalker will tear them apart. That cost Drainer the remainder of his defensive cooldowns. Now he's a wide open target. He's out in center field. Zeepai's looking to punish that. Now they can switch back to Jamie. Drainer doesn't have much to work with to recover through the pressure. Dampening is so high. Blizzo looks to close the game out. Full uptime on Jamie. Big damage with that Fist of Fury. Divine Favor available on Drainer. Needs to access that as soon as possible, but if he gets dispelled and wind sheared on it, he does. Perfect play by Zeepai. Looking like he's going to be able to take game number 1. They disrupt the Lightning Lasso. Drainer, clutch Hammer of Justice, denies the kill on Jamie as he's holding out with very low health, but Zeepai has had enough, I do believe. Somehow, some way, Jamie staying in it. Looney's trying to get into the fight as well. Add in a bit of extra damage to take Jamie down, but just refusing to die.
Run, Jamie, run! He does manage to escape. Drainer connects to heals. Good kiting by Jamie, keeping himself alive. That Lightning Lasso onto Blizzo. Out of line of sight. Definitely is what did it, but Jamie stabilizes. Now big leg sweep over onto Blizzo. Can they take him down? He has a trinket and Touch of Karma. Is there a Blessing of Protection available? Doesn't look like it. So he's going to be able to sit that quite comfortably at this point in the game. But Blizzo traded out every single defensive cooldown he has. Jamie just shreds through with the Lightning Lasso. And now Blizzo's in a lot of trouble. Life Cocoon forced out by Looney. Not many cooldowns left, but the one thing Wildcard Game has going in their favor is Looney actually has some mana, and he decides to get aggressive with the Way of the Crane. They want to close this game out right now.
Oh, beautiful astral shift from Jamie right before being stunned. That reduces a significant amount of damage. If he didn't do that, he would literally be dead. He may still even be dead at this point in the game, dampening so high. Ring of Pieces bouncing Jamie back into the fight constantly on the run. 0 mana left, but Blizzo is susceptible to dying as well if Nerd Rage can stay on target. It's up to Nerd Rage to carry the team. Jamie's been under a lot of pressure. Looks like he's trying to make the bold move and push forward for the kill. Blizzo on the run. Wildcard Gaming on defense now. Suddenly, they've been in control of the fight for most of this time, but are now starting to struggle. At the same time, Drainer is having a rough time just healing through the 30% dampening. Nerd Rage needs to find a kill on Blizzo right now. Drainer's trying to add some damage to the mix as well. Blizzo denies the connect with Ring of Peace, but Jamie is still there. Big lightning bolts. Life Cocoon from Looney stalls it for now, but Looney is now completely out of mana, and this could be a cross-kill situation, Ben.
It definitely could be. Jamie in a lot of trouble. He's getting low. I don't think he can get out of this one. Beautiful Thunderstorm keeps Blizzo at bay, but ZPie just tearing in. Blessing of Sacrifice does keep Jamie alive. Drainer's been doing a really good job rotating through his defensive cooldown. ZPie in the meantime also in a lot of trouble. Are they going to be able to take him down? Jamie could fall. ZPie could fall. Like you said, this could easily be a cross kill. ZPie still low. Lightning Lasso barely holding on. Drainer chasing him. He knocks him away. Still, ZPie could easily fall. He gets Spear Hand Strike, and now we're going to a 2v2.
I feel like Drainer is the one who's too far behind. There's so many cooldowns for Looney. Drainer's trying to run, but Blizzo's all over him. He doesn't have a lot to work with. One Divine Favor gets paralysis on it. Can they stop the heal? No. He gets the Holy Light. Drainer on the run, but he's got nothing. As long as Blizzo just stays on Drainer, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to stay alive. Dampening so high. 0 mana left. Looney could probably easily sneak away and drink. Blizzo has more than enough defense to trade to get full mana, and whichever healer gets mana in this position is going to have the advantage. And it looks like Looney, Nerd Rage knows that. He's trying to stop it. He misses the Ring of Peace. Looney repositioned, anticipating his denial. Looney is getting sips, I believe. His mana going up. Drainer's is not. He's Ring of Peace against the wall. Blizzo pinning him on his Aura Mastery, preventing the Holy Light. He holds on, but Trinket's out. He gets the heal in time with 1 second left, battling it out to the bitter end. But if we look at Looney's mana, that's just saying game over.
Yeah, it definitely is. But Drainer, 4 seconds left, 3 seconds left on that Blessing of Protection. Can he get it off? Is he going to go for the greedy play on the Holy Light? He does with the Avenging Wrath. Does manage to keep himself alive. That Ring of Peace was so beautiful. Ooh, Touch of Karma. Blessing of Protection. Drainer, he managed to hold on. He gets the crowd control into Looney. Now Blizzo's in a scary situation, but that preemptive Life Cocoon from Looney onto Blizzo keeps him alive. In Wildcard Gaming, they just have such an edge at this point.
I mean, Blizzo doesn't have any cooldowns. Looney needs to power heal right now. He's doing it. They don't have any crowd control. Looney just channeling Soothing Mist. Blizzo looks like he's chilling with those heals. He's killing 2 members of the team at the same time. Perhaps should focus fire a bit more. Ring of Peace onto Drainer again, pinning him against the pillar. Gladiator's Maledict attempt. Drainer has no mana left. He's on the run, doing whatever he can to stay alive long enough for Nerd Rage to find the kill. Goes for the Holy Light with 1% left. Stunned right at the tail end, but this should easily be KO for Drainer. He hammers Looney to try and give Nerd Rage an opportunity, perhaps.
And pull back the series.
All right, let's see what they can do. Elimination, tournament lives on the line, and winning the blind pick can be very important in a series where both teams have such a diverse roster of compositions. Nerd Rage is leading the assault here, forcing 2 defensive cooldowns from Wildcard Gaming for only 1 offensive cooldown, so that is a good exchange for Zizon early on.
And we kind of talked about Drainer in that last game, his cooldown usage on the Holy Paladin, and it's really good. You can trade out those cooldowns to stay ahead in the matchup. Actually, a talent change here for Looney. He's decided to go the Song of Chi-Ji, so he has a casted crowd control similar to Repentance that he can use. He can move in, he can get the paralysis into that Song of Chi-Ji, into a stun. It's a really long crowd control chain that the Mistweaver Monk has. Don't often see them use it, but I guess he wants that opportunity to move in and sort of pressure Drainer. Like, if Drainer's going to be moving in looking for those Hammer of Justice Repentance, Looney can easily just turn that around on his head.
Yeah, the Song of Chi-Ji, not a talent that we see very often. One so much so that I believe that you can use Tremor Totem to remove the crowd control effect. So if so, Jamie definitely needs to look for that. ZPie still being pressured down. I would say overall the momentum is much higher right now from Zizon in Game 2. They've been forcing cooldowns left, right, and center. Also building a pretty decent mana lead so far as well. So perhaps just stepping up their overall play, polishing their rotations, maximizing their damage to try and overcome the loss that they got in Game number 1, which was so close towards the end. Looney crowd controlled. Good double stun by Nerd Rage. Perfect setup here by Zizon. Jamie on the run. Beautiful lightning lasso right out of line of sight of ZPie, so he cannot interrupt him, and now avoiding death and looking to turn the pressure around. ZPie falling behind.
Yep, and there's a really good backup there from Jamie onto Drainer. Nerd Rage getting low. But as Looney moved in to get the paralysis into the Song of TG, Jamie was there. He got the wind shear off, and that allowed Drainer a moment to get out of crowd control, turn the crowd control back onto Looney with the Hammer of Justice into a Repentance. So a lot of this matchup and a lot of the crowd control these healers have can be shut down by these elemental shamans. So if you can look for that during the game, it's going to be significant.
All right, Jamie and Nerd Rage are falling behind with crowd control secured onto Drainer by Looney. He is the reason why Jamie and Nerd Rage are so low on health right now. And Drainer is struggling to recover. They have to exchange that astral shift from Jamie, so he will be vulnerable. Although now at this moment in time, Nerd Rage is ramping up for a big hit onto ZPie. Let's see how he responds. Half his health gone. Looney just immediately healing him back up though, so that touch of death not too high value. Jamie has Stormkeeper rolling, so his next 2 lightning bolts are going to be very big, and I'm curious to see where he allocates them. He's actually just under pretty big fire and not able to use them. Blessing of Sacrifice forced from Drainer, and Wildcard Gaming are battling back, evening out the mana, and actually getting ahead on cooldowns.
Yeah, Looney into paralysis. It looks like Drainer actually wanted to go for Repentance there, but a beautiful wind shear from Zipie denies. What is Zipie going to be able to do? He's low on health right now. Good pressure here for Zizon. If we look at mana, Looney is behind. So this is what I'm talking about. At this moment in the game, where Zizon really needs to focus. I mean, Drainer getting bursted down, having to use that Divine Shield. But if they want to continue a mana lead in this matchup, they really need to keep a close eye on Looney during these moments.
I think Looney may be trying to sit down for a drink right now. Who's in position to deny it? They're definitely not going to be able to find a drink. Looney dealing some damage to Nerd Rage while he's lightning lassoed, but could get Repentance. Beautifully done by Drainer. Good timing, seeing Looney push forward and aggressive. Now they can crowd control Looney for an extended period of time. Maybe get a kill into Zipie or Blizzo. Zipie, realizing his healer is crowd controlled, is just avoiding the fight. Uses Grounding Totem to deny the Gladiator's Maledict, but Nerd Rage goes for a follow-up. Looney dispels that. They need the 3rd Gladiator's Maledict, but it doesn't look like they have it, so Zipie will easily survive. Ring of Peace bouncing Drainer once again. I can only imagine that that is probably tilting him after the first game, getting punted into the side of the wall. So Drainer definitely going to be looking to avoid potentially standing next to pillars when he's low health, so he doesn't get pinned down by the double monk combo. Jamie under some pressure right now as Drainer sits through crowd control. Although now, as I say that, Zizon continue back and swing back in favor, pressuring Zipie. The teams are just so evenly matched. I mean, in almost every single regard. The only person falling a bit behind is Drainer, and Wildcard Gaming see that weakness.
Yeah, Drainer going to focus down. Looney's going to take this opportunity to sneak away. This is really important. If he can reset his mana at this particular point in the game, Wildcard Gaming is going to have a massive advantage. Not sure he's actually going to be able to do it. He's sitting down right now. We'll have to see if he's able to get any ticks. It takes a little while before that mana starts regenerating while you sit down and drink. Drainer doing a decent job with his mana as well. He's going to be kiting away to the large pillar on Ashamane's Fall. Bozo with a leg sweep, getting decent pressure here onto Jamie. But it doesn't look like he's going to be able to take him down at the moment. Both teams relatively even in terms of pressure.
All right, Blizzo has good defensive cooldowns available, so unlikely that we see him go down unless Drainer has a Blessing of Protection, which at this time it doesn't look like he does. Zipie getting attacked. He trades Astral Shift while his healer is crowd controlled. I think that's a fair exchange on his part. He can then easily survive for Looney to get out of crowd control and continue healing. I'm imagining that deeper into dampening, if Looney can maintain a mana advantage, that this will almost certainly be their main win condition. For Zizon, how do they win then? It is to get crowd control on Looney and then execute burst damage onto Zipie. If they can achieve this before deep dampening and before Drainer is out of mana, then they will win. Perhaps they can. This is decent damage on Zipie, but there's no crowd control. Drainer falling a bit behind, but connects a big heal. Has Avenging Wrath up. This increases his healing, so when he's glowing with those wings next to the tiger statue, it means his healing spells are amplified. Unlikely that any of his team members will die during this moment in time unless he is interrupted on his heals, which he actually fake casted Zipie, so he is not interrupted, easily healing through the damage. Trying to push forward for crowd control, but walks into a double leg sweep and then a paralysis as well on his human racial to break out of the stun. That was good denial, but Drainer is crossing. Drainer wants to get crowd control. He needs that Hammer of Justice and Repentance to find a kill. They're going for maybe for the Gladiator's Maledict play. Hammer of Justice, Repentance. They get denied on the Repentance. Good teamwork there from Zipie with a wind shear. Drainer still trying to push forward, but the more time he spends moving, this is the thing about Holy Paladins, is they don't heal a lot while they're moving, but he has to move to get crowd control, so his team will start falling behind on health. And if he doesn't make the move, then he'll just fall behind on mana. So it is a tough decision and difficult to execute on, but if Drainer can do it, then they will be able to achieve victory. Looney pushes forward for crowd control, and they get cross with the elemental stun of Zipie. Interesting adaptation. Jamie could be in a bit of trouble here. Very low on health. Drainer has cooldowns available, but wants to rotate them one at a time and not overlap, so he's trying to take the frugal route, only using the Aura Mastery, but that's not a very significant defensive cooldown, so he may not get away with it. Paralysis, and they purge off the Divine Favor. Nice teamwork there from Wildcard Gaming. That puts Drainer even further behind.
Yeah, Jamie with a nice Thunderstorm. He's been doing a good job knocking the Fists of Fury of Blizzo, which is most of his damage, but I don't know if it's going to matter. Jamie trying to just soak up a lot of this damage in. Ghost Wolf healing himself up. Drainer a good position, getting some heals in as well. Jamie does manage to stabilize. Now with Zeepai under pressure. Jamie moving in, trying to get some additional damage out. Paralysis now onto Looney. Is Zeepai going to fall? He doesn't have the Astral Shift, but Life Cocoon easily trades out for Looney, and that should keep Zeepai alive. And now the pressure's turning around on Jamie.
All right, can Drainer recover? He's got Avenging Wrath. I think that they should look to make a push to kill Zeepai. He's limited on defense. Drainer sees it, makes the push, but they switch targets, or at least Jamie is just trying to attack Blizzo. At this point in time, Zeepai would have been the most vulnerable, but he realized that and stood in a position that made it impossible for Jamie to attack him. Now overextending Nerd Rage and potentially finding a kill on him. That was a good bait by Zeepai. He knew he was the most vulnerable target, so he went into a position where the enemy team would have to compromise their positioning and then actually turned the tables in his own odds, and now Nerd Rage is behind. Nice positioning, although Zeepai is still just taking a beating right now. Thunderstorm onto two members. Drainer gets the Repentance, sneaks it through around the corner. Zeepai on the run, dampening now at 20%. Mana still in favor of Wildcard, but momentum in favor of Zizon. Cooldown exchanged, but that punish on Nerd Rage once again, beautifully done. He's on the run. Great Transcendence Portal, but Looney's on top of him. We do see the Song of Chi-Ji fake
nice
casted.
fake.
But Divine Shield sacrifice. Drainer immune to the crowd control with Divine Shield. Uses Blessing of Sacrifice to redirect damage to himself, and while Divine Shield is active, he doesn't take any of the redirected damage, so a very efficient combination of cooldowns. This allows Drainer to stay healthy and deep dampening, which would be otherwise almost impossible to heal back up through. Blizzo falling a bit behind, as we see Touch of Karma forced to be
Touch of Death
there. Touch of Death about to go off. Drainer with no real options, and Nerd Rage is just left out in midfield, taken down. Beautiful positioning from Zeepai. Baiting team can remove that. They have Repentance from Drainer to use on Looney. They can crowd control two members and then focus fire Blizzo and try and either just force him away constantly, keep him on the defensive so he can't build any pressure, or eventually kill him. I'm not on the side of this composition being the worst option for Zizon. If they focus the Destruction Warlock, then Jamie is left open. If they go on Jamie, then Mercy is left open. So there are two threats. Blade's Edge, an interesting choice. Although they are making some errors, standing on top of each other against two monks is definitely a mistake. Drainer and Mercy both getting stunned as a result, but no significant punish just yet. This is usually the standard when facing a Warlock and a Shaman on Blade's Edge, is that you try and hide for cover under the bridge. But if if Jamie and Mercy have good positioning like this, Mercy on one side and Jamie on the other, you simply can't hide from one of them. They pin down Looney. They're going after the healer with a pretty aggressive stance. Mercy down to about half health, but not finding the kill. Now Mercy falling behind as a result. Wildcard Gaming begin their counter engagement.
Yeah, Mercy under fire, and I'm actually on the side of this not being a good option for Zizon. I don't think it's going to work out. I think Mercy is just way too vulnerable on the Destruction Warlock. And I also feel like Wildcard Gaming, they shouldn't be too afraid to play up top. The thing is, they have two ring apiece. With Blizzo and Looney, they can easily abuse Mercy, knocking him off the bridge, putting him in unideal positions where Blizzo can chase, and Zeepai can put out significant damage. So I don't even know if I like the positioning down low for the team of Wildcard Gaming. Initially, they just used it because they wanted to sort of wait out the Infernals and the Dark Soul, but moving forward, I really wouldn't mind them playing a little bit more aggressive up top. You can see Mercy already taking tons of damage. Blessing and Protection forced out quite early.
Denying the Touch of Death of Blizzo, but now not an option to remove Touch of Karma, so unlikely that Blizzo will be the target. They've been bouncing back between Looney and Zeepai, which was something that I didn't anticipate. They've been actually getting a lot of fears on Looney earlier on. Zeepai tried to Tremor, but was out of range, so Looney will sit a lot of crowd control as a result of that mistake in terms of positioning. Mercy getting Ring of Peace off the side. Jamie getting focus fired as Mercy is not able to support. They stack up once again, but Mercy is responding with a triple Shadow Fury of his own, stalling the damage there for a few moments during the burst attempt of Wildcard Gaming. Drainer getting switched to a tad bit, but no significant pushes. I would say right now currently Zeepai is in the most trouble in the match, so Wildcard Gaming need to look to prepare to save him. Jamie, though, being attacked. Has to use Astral Shift to reduce the damage. Still taking quite a bit of connects a big heal there from Drainer. Going back to full health almost immediately. Drainer engage crowd control. This is the moment in time that Zipie is most vulnerable. How is he going to survive? They don't get further crowd control. Is Drainer even running the Repentance? I'm wondering at this point. Zipie still at low health, but Ring of Peace denies them from their pursuit, and the map does, I believe, is going to backfire on them against the double monk. The Ring of Peace just zoning the ramp, knocking them off the side. Usually in the past, before monks were really in the arena, before the class was even in the game, warlocks and elemental shamans loved this map because they could use the demonic circle portal up and down the bridge, use the thunderstorm off the side, but monks have portals themselves and knockbacks, so it's not really that advantageous. It's a very risky map, especially to pick when you're on match point. So Zizon perhaps could have gone for a better map if they really wanted to try and run this composition, something where they would be more susceptible to not being knocked off of a Z-axis. I don't even think that Mercy is running the demonic circle, so he's not going to be gaining that advantage, the mortal coil. I think the map could certainly backfire. No openings just yet now as Zipie's Astral Shift rotated back up and available, and it's looking to be like another situation where mana is the main focus of the game and Looney has a lead.
Look at Drainer. He's trying to position far away to go for a drink. Blizzo immediately chases him, uses the crackling Jade Lightning to keep him in combat. Now it's Jamie that's under fire, sort of baiting Blizzo behind the pillar. Lightning Lasso, going to wrangle him up and do some damage at this point in the game, but Jamie should be able to stabilize Drainer in a good position with the Divine Favor. Connects a big Holy Light. Paralysis gets traded out by Blizzo. Jamie still under a little bit of pressure, but I think it's unlikely he falls at this point in the game. And as the game moves forward, if we do make it to a point in dampening, I feel like Wildcard Gaming will even get a bigger edge. I feel like Mercy, a lot of his self-healing is going to get negated by that, and I think he's just such an easy target for Blizzo to have high uptime on. I really feel like Looney and Blizzo could be doing a better job with the Ring of Peace, sort of denying this positioning from Mercy, but it really doesn't seem to matter too much.
Big attack incoming from Wildcard Gaming. Drainer there to respond with Avenging Wrath, getting huge heals out, stopping the team. Looks like Zizon are switching targets. They're going after Blizzo a bit. He's going to use the Fortifying Brew so that he can just stay on Mercy, push forward, and try and get more defensive cooldowns, although it's not typical to make a push when the Holy Paladin has Avenging Wrath up. Although if he's crowd controlled, it is a good opportunity, and he currently is by Looney with that leg sweep. Doesn't look like any more follow-up, though, and Drainer staves the team with 1 second left on the Avenging Wrath. Blizzo falling a bit behind in the Lightning Lasso. I do think that Hex could be abused a lot more. Finally, a Hex on Zipie. This is what I would have liked to have seen in terms of strategy for crowd control. They can just crowd control Zipie for 8 seconds at any moment in the fight, combo it with Lightning Lasso on Blizzo, and if they take control and single target Blizzo, I think that's their best way to find a victory. They can hold all 3 members in a stun lock, and if they're coordinated enough, eventually Blizzo won't have a way to escape, and I could see them finding a kill through that route. If they engage like they just did earlier more frequently, I think they could pull it off, but if they continue to play the old style of Elemental Shaman Warlock, where you just kind of attack anything out in the open and maximize your damage, I think that Wildcard Gaming's composition will almost never lose to that strategy.
Yeah, they're just really durable. All 3 of them have self-healing. And of course, Looney on that Mystery Monk is a very efficient healer, especially you know, in the early stages of the game. Finally, some significant pressure being generated here for Wildcard Gaming as Mercy does get a little bit low. Blizzo getting really aggressive. Double Mortal Coil coming out. Mercy trying to play a little bit of defense. Can he set anything up? The thing is, Zizon, they're getting, I mean, they're surviving, but they're not really getting any sort of significant setups. No one's really been in trouble at any point for Wildcard Gaming. And like I said, as the game moves on, I feel like that consistent damage coming in from the Windwalker Monk with that Mortal Wounds effect from the Rising Sun Kick, reducing healing, I think they're just going to continue to develop an advantage.
Jamie looking for crowd control to stall some pressure out, trying to land the Hex. Not able to find it. Looney is stunned right now. Both teams in a bit of trouble. Drainer, what are you going to do? Blessing of Sacrifice on very low health, so Mercy stays alive. Drainer recovers. Close call. A significant cooldown forced from the side of Zizon as dampening is now at 10%. There's a gigantic mana lead. They are on match points, and they face elimination. They need to start making more clean setups. They have to play for setup. There's absolutely no way that they can win on damage or win on pressure. As he said, they don't bring in the Mortal Strike effect, and Looney likely running the counteract magic is amplifying his renewing mist, so he is able to heal targets very easily through consistent damage. Zizon have to play off crowd control, burst, and setups. Blizzo anticipated here that he would be the target and actually just threw away his Touch of Karma because Zipie was the target. Perhaps an opening. Zizon getting some good burst here off of Blizzo's preemptive move that wasn't necessary.
Well,
Drainer, is he sitting down for a drink? He's not able to get too much mana. He's actually still significantly behind. ZPie finally getting hexed, at least to slow down the game, but it would be better if it was coordinated at the same time with Lightning Lasso on Blizzo. This way, ZPie can't interrupt Lightning Lasso. He can't heal, he can't support, he can't stop anything. And then if Looney's Hammer of Justice, that crowd control situation is where they can win. But at this point, they're so far behind. They've been so sloppy in their attempts. They're just kind of doing damage at this point and trying to win off of pressure. Perhaps they can. I mean, you can never count an Elemental Shaman out, but I certainly don't think it's their best strategy. Astral Shift forced from ZPie, along with Life Cocoon. They're at least keeping some cooldowns off the board from Wildcard Gaming, but Drainer he's so limited on his options right now for a significant amount of time. Blizzo feared away by Mercy, dispelled instantly. Looney's in a confident lead. I mean, Wildcard Gaming are looking like they're going to take the sweep at this point.
Yeah, it's looking good for them. I really want to see Blizzo, ZPie, and Looney use the Ring of Peace, use the Thunderstorm more often on Mercy, get him in unideal positions where Drainer can't heal him as easily, and just avoid that damage. Finally, ZPie is going to be using a Thunderstorm, knocking him down low, and this is what they can do consistently in this matchup. The Warlock does not have much mobility, especially when he's not running that Demonic Circle, which most really don't. We're at 22% dampening. Mercy does get topped off. Drainer with his Avenging Wrath, sort of the last line of defense he has. I mean, he has the Blessing of Protection, the Blessing of Sacrifice, but his throughput and healing is not going to be that high after that cooldown fades. ZPie getting bursted down just a little bit. Looney kind of struggling, but I think he sat down for a drink. So although ZPie, that was a bit of a scary moment, Looney was able to recover a lot of his mana, giving Wildcard Gaming even further edge as the game goes on. Touch of Death gets traded out by Blizzo. Is he going to be able to take down Mercy? Mercy gets Blessing of Protection. It's great safety there from Drainer in order to keep him alive. It completely negates that Touch of Death cooldown, keep him healthy, but slowly but surely, Wildcard Gaming working through some of those defensives. The consistent pressure coming in from Blizzo on Mercy is starting to really show its significance.
ZPie reversing some pressure, but Drainer's there to save the day. Divine Favor. Mercy now getting swapped to, bursted down, and I mean, Devon's at 28%, and look at Drainer's mana. It's basically a sliver. He's going to be out and tapped totally here, and it's match point. They can't afford to lose. They're running out of time. They have to make something happen, but it's actually Wildcard Gaming that looked to be the team making something happen. Crowd controlling both Jamie and Drainer, interrupting Drainer's heals. Drainer tries to go for the play to win the game. He stuns Looney up. They drop in the Infernals from Mercy. If Mercy doesn't find a kill on these set of Infernals, I don't think that Zizon will ever find a kill in this match. ZPie's running away from Mercy downstairs, line of sighting him on the bottom of the bridge. Max ranging the Warlock. He knows this is their only opportunity. They have to avoid the Destruction Warlock at all costs. As soon as the Infernals are over, they can safely push forward. They've got so much more mana. They've got so much more defensive cooldown, so don't risk it. Don't take the gamble with those Infernals down. They're going to be fading shortly, and as they do, I can only imagine that their hopes of staying alive in the tournament fade with them. Divine Favor dispelled instantly by ZPie. ZPie on fire this game, removing any sort of recovery options for Drainer. He's 2 seconds away. Blessing of Sacrifice on basically 0% health. Drainer is praying right now that he can recover. It looks like Drainer's pulling off a miracle to give his team any sort of opportunity. Perhaps they can make it happen. Drainer gets swapped to by ZPie, but with Avenging Wrath, if he can even get one Holy Light, he's likely to go back to full health. They're going for some Gladiator's Maledicts onto ZPie. They're trying to punish him for being overextended, pull off a potential miracle. All three members of the team in a lot of trouble. Drainer now with absolutely nothing left. No mana and no cooldowns. All he's got are his prayers to stay alive in the tournament at this point.
I don't know if that's going to be enough. Jamie, 10% hit points, trying to run away, trying to throw in some healing surges, but at 37% dampening, I think Blizzo's going to be able to take him down. Drainer trying to do anything he can with the Hammer of Justice, full hex on Blizzo. Blizzo can't believe it. Saying, die, Jamie, die. Finally takes him down, and Wildcard Gaming in the driver's seat the entire game. Has an advantage in this particular matchup.
We haven't really got to see Method Black on their Rogue Mage too much, but they are phenomenal Rogue Mage players, of course, throughout history. So this will be quite a treat, whereas changed my mind playing the composition that had them succeed so much so at the spring finals. So these two Titans going head to head in the upper bracket. Waz trying to find Minpoike in the starting room, but not finding him. Able to avoid being sapped, which is very important when facing a rogue as a healer. But Chaz actually sneaks in. Minpoike wanted to be in bear form in case they tried to attack him, but in bear form you can be hibernated. At the same time, Valet counter-engaging crowd control with a Mind Bomb. It's still Acro on the back foot despite it. Minpoike has managed to stabilize with Iron Bark. Waz gets denied on his Vendetta with a kidney shot from Acro. Waz pulling the trigger on that cooldown very early on. Acro still has his available, so he can amplify his damage at any moment, and Chaz will not have Iron Bark to deal with it. Raikou not running the Temporal Shield, so maybe a target later on. Of course, the Kleptomania very effective against a Restoration Druid. Acro still the target for Method Black. They're focusing down the Rogue. This does mean that Valet on Shadow Priest could be left open. Another Hibernate found by Chaz. This is beautifully done, well set up by Raikou and Chaz. It is really putting Change My Mind behind.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice Hibernate, but there was a Ring of Frost down as well. It was more fancy than anything. There's not too much you could do as a Restoration Druid during that double cast, and I think that really speaks volumes to the teamwork of Raikou and Chaz. Like you were saying, if they both cast out the Hibernate and the Polymorph Ring of Frost at the same time, it can be really difficult to deal with as a Restoration Druid. Actually, a defensive blind coming in from Waz onto Acro. I guess Waz feels like he was in a little bit of trouble. They're actually going to be going after Minpoike here, trying to put some pressure onto him. I believe he's actually running the Balance Affinity in this matchup, so could be a great target for Waz and Raikou to run after and really pressure down.
Although they leave Acro and Valet open to maximize their damage if they do it. So double-edged sword, he is the most easy to kill target really in terms of defense with that Balance Affinity, but at the same time, Shadow Priest free casting is very threatening. So Method Black have given up on the chase towards Minpoike and are now actually going after Valet. Method Black have been mixing it up throughout this entire game. Even just in the first couple of minutes, they've attacked every single target on the team, and that they're trying to put Change My Mind off footing and try and find a kill by surprise really with these target swaps, whereas Change My Mind are sticking with the consistency and going only after Waz. They've gotten perfect crowd control here onto Chaz, a Mind Bomb into a Sap, but Waz anticipates the damage and repositions far away from Chaz, so Acro has to make a decision to either crowd control Chaz or attack Waz, and he can't do both. And because he can't do both, he's not going to kill Waz, so that was good positioning on Waz's part. Now he baits Acro to overextend, punishing him and pulling both of Acro's defensive cooldowns. This is very well done by Waz.
Yeah, really good positioning, baiting Acro, and that's not the first time we've seen that happen when these two rogues go head-to-head. Acro had to trade out his Trinket, his Evasion, and Cloak of Shadow, so he's very vulnerable. Valet, of course, with the Trinket, with the Void Shift, that extra Shadow Priest utility and defensive cooldown is going to be really big for Change My Mind in order to survive another big setup. If we look at mana right now, Minpoike a little bit behind. There's just been really good consistent pressure. Like you said, Raikou and Waz, they've really been keeping Change My Mind guessing, going after all three targets. Acro getting swapped to here. Minpoike looks to deflect it with the Iron Bark. That should be enough, but just massive damage coming in from Raikou.
Acro cycloned at low health by Chaz. Scary moment here. Another cyclone. If Minpoike gets crowd controlled, it could be the end of the game. Big hit incoming. Will he fall here? Raikou has to solo him. Waz is stunned, but Waz is coming out of that stun shortly. Acro's on the run, looking to escape. Had to use his Vanish defensively, so he's not going to be able to use that to get a sap out of a Mind Bomb. Minpoike is still crowd controlled. Method Black switched their attention to Valet. They're just maximizing output in terms of damage to try and kill maybe two targets at the same time while Minpoike is locked down. Valet gets cycloned on his Vampiric Embrace. The crowd control from Method Black is perfect at this point in the match. It's really making it difficult for Minpoike to recover and heal. You can see a lead in mana already established for Method Black, so winning on crowd control, which is kind of expected with the Mage versus the Shadow Priest, but also winning on pressure, winning on mana, winning on cooldown, so it is looking good for Method Black in game number one.
Yeah, Waz, Acro still just sort of poking each other. Finally, Acro is going to be making a target change over to Raikou. He's been doing a good job in this matchup with Polymorph, with getting out damage, so maybe going after the Mage in this matchup could be a little bit more advantageous for Change My Mind, just to slow him down. But anytime Raikou gets targeted, he plays very defensive, never really looking for the crowd control, just running away, and it makes him very difficult to take down. Chaz getting caught into his sap. Decent pressure on Raikou, but it's Acro that's in trouble. Minpoike forces a Trinket if Waz is blind. Now there's no Trinket left. If the next time Minpoike gets stunned, Raikou could move in with a Ring of Frost, and a Hibernate from Chaz. There's really no answer Minpoike has, but they're opting to just go after him. Nice life grip there, leap of faith from Valet in order to keep Minpoike alive. And I think that play should be enough for him to survive, but Method Black, they're just going for it.
They're going all in, popping the Vendetta, still trying to keep Change My Mind on their toes and perhaps just kill them outright. Big attack here by Raikou. That's going to be Void Shift. Valet switching his health for Minpoike's right before Minpoike died. And now they actually switched to the Shadow Priest, which is a common strategy when Void Shift is used. Valet is holding on without having to use Dispersion, which is good for his team overall. They would be almost guaranteed to lose if they did have to use both at the same time, but they may still. I mean, the pressure from Method Black is so high. Acro tries to stabilize, but Minpoike's crowd control. Dispersion has to be traded. Delay almost going down through it. Acro disrupts the polymorph, allowing Minpoike to get out of crowd control, but Waz continues the chain using the kidney shot for crowd control rather than damage. Good adaptation here to get another polymorph. Perfect crowd control chain by Method Black is looking to secure the game. Game number 1 to Method Black. Very important to win the blind pick so you can have the swing.
Shut some of that down.
Yeah, maybe the fried food doesn't belong in the sewer. Well, I mean, at least for a few hours. But Method Black are 1 game up here, looking to go 2 up in the series.
I don't want to taste anything in the sewers, Adrian, okay? We see Mindseer onto Acro to try and find a member of the opposing team in stealth. Sap on Minpoike. This could be devastating if Method Black can engage. Acro, though, intercepts Waz, saving Minpoike from the initial attack. Although now Waz looks to reverse it. Good adaptation despite being caught. Method Black secure crowd control into 3 members, which is exactly what they need to do to force significant defensive cooldowns. They're still not getting it. They're not finding even an Iron Bark for that first attack. That is unfortunate for Method Black. Change my mind in a stable position. Method Black switching targets to go after Valet. I do like this from Method Black, is that they're not sticking to one specific strategy. They're always switching targets, keeping Change My Mind on their toes. One main advantage of this is that Minpoike has to spend a lot of mana because he has to have heal over time effects on 3 members of the team rather than only on 1 member of the team. So Method Black at least secure a guaranteed victory through mana by switching targets. They also can get surprise kills if the enemy team isn't ready for a swap, and I do like the swaps from Method Black. I think that is going to be key to their victory overall in the series. Change My Mind, on the other hand, their crowd control chains have been a bit slow. It feels like they're always waiting a little bit longer than they really need to start a crowd control chain. And then without crowd control, Chaz is just easily healing through the damage. So I would like to see more Silence Mind Bombs or Bash Cyclones from Change My Mind. I'd like to just see them play a bit more aggressive, a little less defensive, but maybe they're forced to play so defensive because of Method Black switching targets so frequently.
I think switching targets, switching where you're dealing damage is important, but another big thing is Raiku's able to just switch up his polymorph. So if they go after Valet, then they polymorph up Acro. And once Acro, you know, he's going to survive because he has all those heal over time effects. That's when they can just put a polymorph on Acro. And because of that, they're really just limiting the damage. You can see Valet, he's just, you know, munching on those polymorphs right now. Pork is having a difficult time actually, you know, dispelling him out and freeing him up. Waz on the run. Acro trying to generate some pressure. Good crowd control over onto Chaz. Waz behind the pillar in a good position in line of sight of Chaz. Does connect some of those heals, and I think he's actually going to be able to get a re-stealth here, which will be big.
Waz blinded Acro and then auto-attacked it.
I think it was a pet, wasn't it?
Was it a pet?
Element.
I mean, either way, that's your most powerful crowd control. I was wondering why it was even on the Rogue, if that was just a mistake outright, or if they had a plan for it and then it just went haywire. Method Black making another switch, going after the healer on Change My Mind. Minpoike was ready, had Barkskin available, and Valet backed him up by pulling him back to the boxes so that he could line of sight. Acro is then pressuring Waz, so when the enemy team has a rogue, a warrior, death knight, some sort of melee class, and they're attacking your healer, it is usually a good idea to either crowd control that melee or go after them and try and force them away from your healer. So in this situation, Acro is attacking Waz, preventing him from chasing down Minpoike, who he would like to be attacking and forcing cooldowns from. Still the mana in favor of Method Black, although we do finally see pressure for Change My Mind with Raikou and Waz hovering at about 60% health. Double crowd control cast by Method Black, denied though by Mass Dispel of Valet. Immediate reaction there. Acro trying to catch Waz again with a smoke bomb play, but almost 0 to damage taken in that attempt. That's usually a very scary moment when a rogue uses a smoke bomb, but Waz takes 0 damage as a result of it and now can start playing a lot more aggressive.
All right, is he going to be moving in? Acro still the target of choice. Good crowd control coming in from Raikou once again. They just can't find the crowd control on Minpoike. They actually make a swap. Acro trying to back him up, but he's crowd controlled up. Waz on a solo mission. Frozen Orb finally gets dropped in. Raikou in a good position to finally get some damage rolling. That position was nice from Minpoike. He manages to leap away, dispel off the Gladiator's Maledict. Another one flies in from Raikou, but I think Minpoike will ultimately survive. A nice little Kleptomania spell steal on that Innervate. Raikou making sure to strip that from Minpoike so he doesn't get those free heal overtime effects. That's going to tax his mana even more. But if we look at mana, despite the fact that Method Black, they've been all over the place, Minpoike has been able to manage his mana quite well, and he's actually relatively even with Chaz.
Yep, they definitely need to keep that in mind, as this will inevitably play out for mana and dampening if either team can't find a kill with crowd control and pressure. Valet getting switched to by Method Black. They get Glaire's Medallion from him, and that's usually, you want to use that with Void Shift. So later on, Method Black can punish Valet for using that Gladiator's Medallion a bit prematurely. It wasn't, I don't think it was very required when Dispersion was available. Smoke Bomb is also a good punish on using that Glaire's Medallion. Valet can't escape the Smoke Bomb too easily without being able to get out of crowd control. Blind was used on Minpoike, so they've got Minpoike's Glaire's Medallion and they've got Valet's Glaire's Medallion. When two players are down that, they cannot remove crowd control. This is a big opportunity for Method Black to make a push to end the game. Perhaps another switch to Minpoike. Currently Method Black are pulling away from the enemy team, perhaps trying to bait Minpoike to push forward or just set up a drink if they don't. They have to make a move quickly. Chaz is regenerating mana. Method Black go for the swap to the healer while Minpoike moved into center field. Chaz gets full mana. Minpoike falls behind on cooldowns, and this is looking grim in game 2.
Yeah, definitely not the best situation to be in. Kitty shot now onto Raikou. Chaz denies that with the Iron Bark with 3% dampening. Mind Bond coming in. These crowd control chains finally starting to develop themselves for Change My Mind, but they just haven't really been getting too many defensive cooldowns. You know, Raikou has both of his ice blocks. Waz in a good position with his trinket, Cloak of Shadows, evasion, and Poike falling behind. Another setup here onto Acro. Good burst damage coming in from Raikou. Ray of Frost being fully channeled. Waz with the Vanish cheap shot, extending the crowd control chain. Acro trying to survive. He has the evasion up, trying to just avoid a lot of this incoming damage from Waz with that, giving him some additional evasion. Waz with a beautiful Shadow Step kick into a Polymorph on the leg. Good control here from Method Black, and now Acro's frozen. He's in a Cyclone, can't get healed up by Minpoike. Minpoike trying to sneak away for a drink, but he's kind of left Acro behind. He's in a Kitty shot, he has to trinket. He has the evasion, just relying on, or he has the Vanish, just relying on that Feint for now. Big burst damage from Raikou and Waz. Acro could be in some trouble. Minpoike finally backing him up. Keep in mind, Valet has the Void Shift if he needs it. He can swap his hit points with Acro at any moment, but I have to say this matchup is looking as one-sided as the Grand Arena. Method Black just seems to be ahead in all regards.
I think at this point, if you're Change My Mind and you end up losing this game, you have to switch composition. This is just not looking good at all for them. Method Black were more than prepared. Change My Mind looked to try and pull off a miracle, but Chaz totally denied it. Iron Barking before Smoke Bomb, Iron Barking before being crowd controlled. He read them like a book and totally shut down what would have otherwise been a big push, an opportunity to perhaps win the game or at least get significant defensive cooldowns, but now they basically get nothing. Dampening continues to get higher, and Minpoike's mana doesn't, so Chaz is chasing down Minpoike to stop him from drinking. The pressure is still mounting on Acro. He's got no defense for 26 seconds. Big opportunity for Method Black, but Change My Mind and Defiance are trying to kill Waz at the same moment in time, at least pulling Cloak of Shadows from him, and at least keeping it close in terms of cooldowns. Frozen Orb to stop Minpoike from drinking, beautifully done from Raikou. It's all about stopping that mana regeneration at this point. I would have anticipated that the Shadow Priest team would focus on sustained pressure and a mana advantage, but it's actually Method Black that have the lead. It's just so impossible at this point for Minpoike to drink if Method Black stay on top of him, even just committing the Water Elemental to chase down Minpoike. Perhaps they just kill Minpoike, catching him out of form downstairs. Acro tries to support. Ursul's Vortex on that life grip, beautifully done by Chaz. Total shutout, honestly, by Method Black. In every single regard, they are in the lead.
Yeah, with this composition, they just have complete control of the game. But Waz is in a little bit of trouble. He's got no Cloak of Shadows. He's got no Trinket. Maybe he overstayed his welcome. Chaz has a little bit of catch-up to do, but if he does keep him alive, he's got a massive mana lead. In the meantime, Minpoike was able to sneak away. Is he going to be able to recover some mana? Raikou chases him down. Minpoike only got the smallest a bit of mana recovered, but now you can see Raikou is just entangling rooted out of line of sight. Can't really do much in this fight. Waz on a solo mission, trying to get some pressure rolling onto Valet until Raikou can get back into the fight. Cyclone on Minpoike. Valet could be in a little bit of trouble. He does have a lot of defensive cooldowns available if he really needs them, but I think he should be able to hold on. Once Minpoike gets out of the Cyclone, he should be able to easily top him off. Nice Shadow Step kick from Acro onto Chaz, but Raikou with these polymorphs has just been severely limiting any damage output Change My Mind can really develop.
I mean, at this point, you have to kill Waz. Raikou has 2 more ice blocks. That's too many cooldowns to work through. Can they kill Waz before they're just totally tapped out? Valet disperses during Smoke Bomb. Fair trade there, but won't have dispersion in a minute now for Vendetta. That's very deadly moment of opportunity for Method Black. If they can make it to that point, though, they've got Chaz crowd controlled. They don't get any follow-up, and that's... Oh, they finally do. They get the Cyclone on Chaz, but Acro's polymorphed away. Raikou immediately Frost Novaing Acro out of the chain. Acro just not moving for such a substantial amount of time, and now Method Black look to counter-engage. No one can deny the crowd control. Minpoike's taken out of the fight. Valet is solo and healthy. Wants to Void Shift and save the Gliders from dying, but he's out of line of sight. He's out of line of sight and can't switch his health to break the polymorph. Unfortunate for Change My Mind, but even if they did, they were just getting owned in game 2. Fried Kitty must just not be available.
I need to change my schedule, change my composition, change everything to change my mind, because at this point, Method Black, it looks like they're going to be walking away with the series. I don't even know what strategy Change My Mind could really go with. It just feels like the Frost Mage in this matchup, with the way they're playing it, really just abusing the fact that they have Polymorph, able to just crowd control up Acro whenever they're on Valet, and vice versa. They get crowd control on Valet anytime they go after Acro. It just allows them so much momentum in this matchup.
I mean, look already, Method Black crowd controlling 2 members of the team with decent pressure on Valet. If they can hold out and get a Dispersion only or an Ironbark only, that would be likely the best result, or the best result would be not having to use any cooldowns at all. These polymorphs from Raikou have been on point. Anytime Waz is stunned or Chaz is stunned, he instantly polymorphs Acro and stops him from attacking during the stun, which is a crucial moment in time to crowd control an enemy player. And he's been doing it instantaneously every single time, which is why Acro just can't get anything going. Then Method Black recover, and they begin to counter-attack. I really am impressed with Method Black's Rogue Mage Druid synergy, considering we haven't seen it a lot from them this year at all. They've been focusing mostly on that Demon Hunter Death Knight and a couple Spellcaster Cleaves, so they're coming back strong with this Rogue Mage Druid. And I mean, it's looking like they're going to be able to clean this series up 3-0. I don't want to count Change My Mind totally out because they have been on a bit of a tear, but so far in this series, it just feels like they're playing slow, just not engaging crowd control nearly as frequently or as frequently or on the right targets at the right time, and Method Black is just being able to smack them around.
Yeah, I mean, they just have complete control. It seems like, from watching this matchup, Method Black does have a compositional advantage. That's why we really wanted to see Change My Mind bring in their Rogue Mage Druid, at least for a mirror match, but it doesn't look like it's going to be able to happen. Of course, Change My Mind, they still have a chance in this matchup, but it's an uphill battle on Ashamane's Fall, and they are just one game away from being sent down to the lower bracket to play against Wildcard Gaming once again. I have to see how that plays out a little bit later on. If Change My Mind can't hold on. Good pressure here on the Waz, though. Nice little feint is going to be denying a lot of that incoming damage. Now kidney shot onto Valet. We'll have to see if Minpoike can keep him alive. Chaz moving forward, securing some crowd control. Bash into Cyclone. And another one of the problems that Valet has on the Shadow Priest is he doesn't have a ranged interrupt like Raikou. So anytime Chaz wants to move in, get the bash into the Cyclone, there's not too many ways they can stop it. Of course, Valet, he has the Master Spell, which he was able to get off to free up Minpoike from some of that crowd control. But without that ranged interrupt, your healer is just so much more susceptible to being bullied by the enemy Druid.
Yeah, Chaz is drinking and Valet is at low health, so Method Black can regenerate. Actually not. I'm very surprised that he didn't just continue to sit down and regenerate mana. They still had so much pressure. He's actually very far behind. This is at least something going in favor of Change My Mind. They have a lot more of a mana advantage. Decent pressure right now on Waz. Perhaps they can turn this around and reverse sweep if they keep this up. They need to stop Chaz from drinking, which makes me wonder why they picked one of the easiest maps for a Druid to drink on if this was going to be their plan to try and out-pressure Method Black. Chaz is looking for that drink and Minpoike is shutting him down. They're going to have to keep their eyes on Chaz this entire game. If at any point he can regenerate back to full mana, they're going to lose the advantage.
Yeah, Valet gets put into a Frost over behind the pillar. Really can't get anything rolling. Minpoike there for a nice little dispel. But at this point, it's difficult for them. Bash onto Minpoike. Cyclone once again. Acro getting swapped to. Big kidney shot and big damage. Valet might have to help him out with that Void Shift. He wants to hold on. Cloak of Shadows is enough for now, but if they can get the Cyclone onto Acro, is Chaz going to be able to do it? He gets silenced up. Good denial there by Valet. If he can Cyclone him at low health, this is going to be a disaster situation for Change My Mind. In the meantime, though, Waz in a little bit of trouble. Full sap onto Chaz, and now it's Waz. He's in so much trouble. No Cloak of Shadows, no evasion, no trinket. He's left all alone, but Acro just can't get there. Raikou, beautiful crowd control, denying anything Change My Mind can do. Waz manages to hold on.
Once again, Raikou stalling the game. Perfect aggression, perfect defense. Acro was clutch there, almost getting a kill on Waz. beautifully sapped onto Chaz, and then shadow stepping the evasion to get behind Waz, which evasion otherwise denies all melee attackers, but if you get behind the target, it doesn't do anything. So Acro uses shadow step. This places his rogue behind the target. He did that instantaneously, stunning up Waz and creating a situation where they almost got a kill. Perhaps if they can repeat that a few times, they could find victory. They still have a pretty big mana lead, but Chaz is running off into the corner. If Chaz sits down for any sort of mana regeneration, I don't think Change My Mind can take this anymore. He's sitting down. No one stopped him. How much mana? Not too much, actually. He comes back into the fight. He's a bit worried about Waz because the pressure overall from Change My Mind is a lot higher than Game 1 and Game 2. Acro caught in a smoke bomb. Waz looking for the power play. Big hit on that Comet Storm. Acro in so much trouble at this point. Valet cannot void shift. He's in crowd control. He needs to be dispelled. Acro gets cycloned at low health. Valet is interrupted, but not on Shadow. He can use the void shift. He needs to time it perfectly. He gets crowd controlled again. He's unable to. If he gets cycloned, it's easily GG. He is not cyclone. He can use it. They're holding on. They're trying to be greedy in this position, but I don't know if this is a position where you can really get away with it. He's trying to, against all odds, hold on to dear life, and Poike gets in. Surely they'll have to use void shift at this point. I mean, honestly, the void shift finally comes out. Changed My Mind holding on to that until the absolute last second.
Yeah, that was a bit of a disaster situation. Valet was the only thing that could keep Acro alive, and actually just ran into a ring of frost. It wasn't even placed on top of him, almost throwing away that particular moment in the game, but ultimately does manage to hold on. Now getting swapped to, he's low health from the Void Shift. Uses Shadow Meld on one of the incoming Gladiator's Maledicts, but he's still in trouble, and Poike is going to have to play catch up. He has the Iron Bark, but opting not to use it. Valet with a lot of self-healing with that Vampiric Embrace. Can Waz and Raikou sort of push through? Full blind on him, and Poike, what is Valet going to do? Using the Greater Fade, trying to get out of line of sight, trying to keep himself alive. Full Polymorph now secured with the Kidney Shot. Dispersion has to be used, but you can see now Valet, he is such a vulnerable target. And Poike still no Trinket for 40 seconds. Valet, no Dispersion, no Trinket, no Void Shift, no anything. Acro's going to have to pull out some sort of miracle in order to keep him alive.
Chaz is going for a drink. If Poike moves to stop him, then he can't heal Valet. So Chaz is likely to regenerate a lot of mana, or Valet will die. It's basically checkmate for Change My Mind. It's one match point, and Poike is Cyclone. There's nothing left. Valet gets crushed.
Oh!
The blind?
The blind on it was. Can Valet survive? No. Big shatter combo coming in from Raikou. And honestly, they run the Frost Mage Shadow Priest into that. Wildcard Gaming just a step ahead. Once again, they're going to be locking in the Elemental Shaman Frost Mage. Now, I don't think the Elemental Shaman Frost Mage has a massive advantage in this matchup, but I do think they might have a slight lead. Definitely going to be interesting.
I'm anticipating this to be quite a long game, maybe even the longest during the day. These two compositions are very durable. Ranged Spellcaster Cleave. So aside from some significant mistakes, they will be able to always play at an advantageous position to avoid the most amount of damage. Although currently just chilling out in midfield, not really the best position to be when your healer is crowd controlled. Looney has to use his Gladiator's Medallion to remove that polymorph and connect Iron Bark. Morrow then looks to counter engage and attack Valet, but Poike immediately stabilizes that. So throughout the first attack, let's take stock of the cooldowns. Icy Veins was used by both mages, so no advantage there. Gladiator's Medallion used for Looney and not for Poike, so slight advantage to Change My Mind early on.
Yeah, like you said, these teams sitting in midfield, sitting in Blizzard, they're definitely going to be chilling in this matchup. Pride Kitty caught into a Lightning Lasso right now. Good burst damage here coming from Wildcard Gaming. Polymorph setup onto Valet. Lightning Lasso onto Fried Kitty. These are the consistent setups we could potentially see from Wildcard Gaming moving forward, but like you said, outside of a massive Elemental Shaman one-shot, I feel like this is a matchup that probably will need some sort of dampening. Both Restoration Druids playing relatively passive, going for early drinks, keeping their mana nice and high. If at any moment someone's taking too much damage, they can retreat back to the pillar, out of line of sight. Valet getting bursted down. Gladiator Safeguard, a nice little lifeline he has available to avoid some of that Elemental Shaman burst one-shot opportunity, but now without that available, needs to be a little bit careful.
Well, and Poike wanted to bash Morrow, but got totally shut down on it. Now he's bashed himself, possibly into a Ring of Frost. Valet life gripping Poike out of that crowd control, but now they're both stuck in it. They're not able to get to their teammates who's on the opposite side of the map. Poike decides to jump over it, try and get back to Fried Kitty, but he doesn't want to risk compromising his positioning. Running out in midfield as a healer is a big mistake in this matchup. You can see Looney, he's basically inside of the pillar. Looney doesn't, or Minpoke doesn't want to leave the pillar either. You're going to be exposed to crowd control. Looney sees an opportunity to get in stealth, jump across the map, stun into Cyclone. Good crowd control chain, the classic. Fried Kitty the target here, but with Ice Barrier and his positioning at the pillar, isn't taking too much damage. Maro lining up an Ebon Bolt Flurry. That breaks down the shield of Fried Kitty. ZPie landing a Stormkeeper. This could be some decent damage with these lightning bolts onto Fried Kitty with the Ray of Frost. Fried Kitty blinking back to Minpoke's side. Big heal there. More importantly, that Minpoke is running Soul of the Forest, so when he Swiftmends, he will get a buff called Soul of the Forest. This amplifies his next heal. He used it on Regrowth, which almost turns Regrowth into as powerful of a heal as Lay on Hands, topping his Mage off, and that is a good move, a good heal to select when in a Mage versus Mage, because the Kleptomania isn't nearly as effective as if it was able to steal a Rejuvenation, so I do like his Soul of the Forest usage there. Immediate recovery and no advantage given to the other team. Wildcard Gaming now engaging crowd control again, this time Valet the target. He is out in midfield. Multiple Gliders Maledict, that Shadow Ball incoming. Valet not taking too much damage though as a result of it. Now turning the tables, going after ZPie. Looney being interrupted by Fried Kitty. Well timed there, but still no real opening. Literally looking at mana at this point to see who has the edge. Minpoke is drinking, so I believe he regenerated to tie up with Looney, and mana will be important when we get closer to dampening. Most certainly could be the one win condition for either team that is guaranteed. Damage on Maro. Good counterattacked by Change My Mind. However, that was the Icy Veins of Fried Kitty, so if that subsides and they don't get any other cooldown of significance, Maro still has his. He can then look to counterattack with it and potentially net a kill. So Change My Mind will need to be aware of this threat until Maro has decided to pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the Frost Mage spell steal, especially with the Honor talent Kleptomania. It's really powerful at removing tons of heal over time effects. In fact, all of the heal over time effects that these Restoration Druids have. Keep in mind, both teams, Change My Mind, they have the Shadow Priest, Wildcard Gaming, they have ZPie on the Elemental Shaman. Both of them also have Dispel capabilities in this matchup, so they can use the Purge for the Elemental Shaman, the Dispel Magic for the Elemental Priest, and that's where these games can sort of start spiraling out of control, especially later on. The Restoration Druid is going to rely on some of those heal over time effects, and if they fall too far behind, and ZPie, Valet, they can use those offensive Dispels to keep target clean of the heal over time effects and really start generating a lot of pressure.
Which is why, as the Druid in this matchup, you only want to be using Soul of the Forest on Regrowth, using that for a big powerhouse heal rather than amplifying your heal over time effects, because they'll just be stolen or removed. So both Druids using the Soul of the Forest effectively to top off their partners, and when they are in dire straits. No significant lead just yet, but dampening has entered the fight, as I do anticipate this to potentially break records between these two compositions. Both teams really lack punch, the lack of a Destruction Warlock, the lack of Chaos Bolt. There's no real significant burst damage outside of potentially an Earth Shock, at least early on. However, deeper into dampening, the upwards of 40 to 50%, the sustained damage of the Shadow Priest, the sustained damage of the Elemental Shaman will start to sink in, and it is possible that we could see any member of this game die, and when I say that, I mean at the same time. So this game does get quite chaotic and quite hectic, but it does require a significant amount of dampening to do so.
Yep, ZPie getting a little bit low. Looney dispelling off some of those Shadow Priest damage over time effects. Both teams are sort of stabilized at this point. Maro, Fried Kitty, both in midfield. ZPie going for Lightning Lasso. That gets trinketed by Fried Kitty. Looney actually making an offensive push, getting crowd control over on a Minpoke as he leaps away, likely to go try and recover his mana. Looney using a lot of Cyclones. That uses a lot of mana, and now because of that, he is a little bit behind as he charges in stealth and sitting down for a drink. Minpoke trying to shut that down. Is he going to be able to? That's the question. Rake's done over on Minpoke as ZPie makes a swap on him. In the meantime, Maro generating some pressure on Valet in midfield. Minpoke getting stunned up. Good setup here from ZPie, punishing Minpoke for trying to deny Looney from drinking. I don't actually know if Looney got out of combat. He did. He reset his mana. And now, Wildcard Gaming, they actually have a lead at around 10% dampening. Yeah, and before deep dampening, they have the edge just because they have the Elemental Shaman. One big Earth Shock could KO someone if they don't respond appropriately or in time before their health reaches 0. Of course, at that point, they will lose. 12% dampening and continuing to rise. Mana lead in favor of Wildcard Gaming. Interesting crowd control chain here
by changing my mind, the Psychic Scream on Looney and the Silence on ZPie. They use Silence to prevent Tremor Totem, which removes Psychic Scream, so that's why Valet spread those crowd control effects on the 2 members. Wasn't really able to capitalize any damage off that play, and instead had to use his Dispersion. And this is one of those fights where if you play aggressive and push forward, you're just compromising your positioning, you're risking losing. It's quite difficult to actually make the decision to push. Currently, Wildcard Gaming in the driver's seat with 2 members crowd controlled and then the 3rd on the run and basically dead. This could easily be an ice block, and yes, it will. So now a mana lead and a cooldown lead. Dampening continues to ramp up. Fried Kitty is looking to be the focus fire target for Wildcard Gaming, but of course they can't always switch. Switching targets in this matchup is definitely going to be happening a lot, as the focus fire target could stay at the pillar for an extended period of time, and you're just forced to deal damage to another target, which will then expend more mana from the druids. And then when the mana has run out, there's going to be no more healing, and then it is at this point that the fireworks start.
I still think at this point in the game, Fried Kitty should be using his Cold Snap. Finally he does, but he's about 40 seconds behind on that cooldown, so it'll be interesting to see if that ends up mattering later on. If he waited too long, and you know, if Cold Snap or Ice Block only has a 30-second cooldown left, that might end up costing them the game. But for now, he's safe with 1 more Ice Block. Gets topped off by Minpoike. If we look at mana once again, Wildcard Gaming, they have the lead. We're at 21% dampening. Valet caught in the midfield, getting bursted down. The problem with the Shadow Priest is he doesn't have the same sort of mobility as the Elemental Shaman, so if he gets stuck in these situations where ZPie and Maro can just spam out damage onto him, makes it really difficult for him to survive. But at any moment, he could use the Dispersion to run away if he really needed to. And Poike trying to position far away, trying to reset his mana, but there's just good pressure here for Wildcard Gaming. Valet getting bursted down once again, and Poike cannot afford to go for these drinks right now. Ring of Frost being channeled out. Nice double Ring of Frost setup coming in from Maro. Valet left all on his own. Crowd control breaks early. Minpoike actually trinketed out. Now Valet still just trying to escape. He uses his Greater Fade. Dispersion still available if he needs it, but Minpoike is really struggling to keep him alive.
At the start of the game, we weren't certain whether or not which team had the advantage, but I think at this point it's clear that Wildcard Gaming have the advantage. I think, change my mind, if they win this, they have to make it to 60% dampening with a full mana bar. Right now they're about halfway with basically 0 mana left, so they are far away from that goal point to victory, and they're just going to be pinned down at the pillar, under fire, constantly stressed, and it's going to be so difficult for them to actually make it to that point where the Shadow Priest damage will start to sink in. Resto Druid's the most powerful healer I would consider in the meta. Some situations where the other healers are brought in for a slight advantage, but in this matchup in particular, they are just a very powerful healer, quite durable, and there's no Mortal Strike effect to reduce their healing, so this game is going to be going on for some time. Fried Kitty under fire again. Minpoike is polymorphed. I don't believe Mass Dispel is available, so he's going to have to sit through that. This means that Fried Kitty will likely have to ice block. He's trying to do some evasive maneuvers, sneaking around the sides of the pillars and holding on to dear life. He does not want to have to use his last ice block, but he certainly has to as ZPie and Maro close in around him. Minpoike is still crowd controlled. Void Shift available for Valet, and perhaps he's hovering over that as Fried Kitty is struggling to even recover. Minpoike gets out of crowd control. Fortunate that he has Innervate here. Innervate making all of his healing spells free, so he can spend a lot of expensive spells like Wild Growth, save his mage. But Wildcard Gaming have actually just even abandoned the mage as the target, now pressuring down Valet. Minpoike will have to heal 2 targets. That's going to cost him more mana. He may not even be able to heal through it. There's a lot of damage. Dispersion from Valet prevents the kill and possibly allows Minpoike to recover, but now still continued to be crowd controlled. Wildcard Gaming are asserting dominance in game number 1.
This is looking disastrous for Change My Mind. Minpoike goes into a polymorph. He has to trinket out. It just came up in the nick of time. Valet in a little bit of trouble. Fried Kitty has the Icy Veins available. Maybe at this moment he could counter pressure. We are at almost 40% dampening where really anything could happen. Beautiful counterspell going to be landed by Fried Kitty, slowing down Looney's heals just a little bit. ZPie, though, in a good position to avoid damage if he really needs to. Innervate going to be enough to extend Looney's mana, top off his team's hit points, and now Wildcard Gaming, once again, they're in a great position. Valet has no Dispersion, another 50 seconds. Fried Kitty, no Ice Block for another 40 seconds. He has to wait for that Cold Snap cooldown. Poike getting bursted down. He's caught into a stun. Wildcard Gaming all over the place. The Leap of Faith going to be used by Valet to keep Minpoike alive, bringing him out of line of sight, but this victory is slipping out of their hands.
I mean, at this point, what else can they do? All three members are at half health. Dampening at 41%, and Minpoike at basically 5% mana. Minpoike has a choice to make. Go in cap form and attack and hope they kill the target before his team dies. That's basically his only option. It's do or die at this point, and he is trying his best to attack ZPie and put some pressure on the board for his team. He could be the X factor with the Feral Affinity, but it is such a risky maneuver when he's under so much pressure. He has to both heal and deal damage. Looney jumps in, denies the recovery on the Tranquility with a bash. Valet fades the Gladiator's Maledict, but now there's a Lightning Lasso. He has Dispersion for that. Valet is actually making a bold move here by running into the enemy team. He soaks all the important spells and trades a cooldown. Fried Kitty didn't have any cooldowns to make the trade, so Valet is basically throwing himself at his opponents to try and soak damage, but he's now totally out of cooldowns himself, so he can really no longer stay in this position. It is going to be a race to the finish. I do see potential for multiple members in this game to die at the same time. There is still now finally damage sinking in on Namaro and ZPie. The Shadow Priest dots at 50% dampening are going to be effective. Valet using his Gladiator's Medallion to remove the Lightning Lasso, so he does not take the percent health damage, but Fried Kitty has no Icebox remaining. Minpoike is in a Polymorph, unable to heal. Cold Snap in 8 more seconds. Can Wildcard Gaming kill before that period of time? They're not even going to go after the Mage, instead switching back to Valet. He is an immobile target on that Shadow Priest. It will be very difficult for him to escape to safety. His healer is still crowd controlled. Valet doing everything that he can to make it to that 60% dampening mark to maybe have a shot, but ultimately not able to make it all of the way, and Wildcard Gaming take game 1.
Is, or one of their win conditions, I mean, one of their win conditions potentially be getting Looney out of mana, but I don't think they need to do that. It's going to be about high aggression on either ZPie or Maro with a lot of dispels. Valet on that Shadow Priest is going to be able to use Dispel Magic quite often, and it's going to be about just getting Looney behind so they can just get a kill with all-out aggression, not necessarily because he's just completely tapped on mana. So it makes a little bit of sense to me that they would do that, but like you said, it is a bit odd. And I don't think this is a matchup where Change My Wind just automatically win. Like Wildcard Gaming with the Frostmage Elemental Shaman, they're still going to have a lot of burst potential. Valet, he's going to have to deal with a lot of interrupts, and on this map, it's going to be very easy for Wildcard Gaming to sort of kite around and deny Acro a lot of his damage.
One way that this map makes sense is that it's like a heads-up play in the series overall. They feel they can win the matchup on this map, but they know Wildcard Gaming has a counter to their Rogue Shadow Priest. So they're, in a way, trying to steal a map away from Wildcard Gaming future on and moving into the series, but I don't think this map is favorable to them. If they wanted to get a guaranteed victory with this composition, something smaller where the Shadow Priest and the Rogue can stay on target and get back to defense soon. I mean, look at right now, Valet is just in the middle of the map, and pillars are so far away from him, and he's going to be stuck there, and his healer is crowd controlled, has to use Gladiator's Medallion already to remove it, and now they're just going to abandon the kill, Polymorph Valet, maybe even just switch targets to Acro. I mean, Wildcard Gaming can tee off on whoever they want on this map against this composition. I'm not a fan of it. Minpoike's Cyclone now. Acro is getting hammered, and look where he is, middle of the map. The ZPie can free cast. Maro is just having his way with Acro, just avoiding him with snares or potentially pulling him very far away and then around a corner. Finally, some counter aggression, though, for Change My Mind as they go after Maro, but no crowd control on Looney. Finally, Mind Bomb. That will hold Looney in place, but Acro again having a difficult time trying to sap out of Mind Bomb. Does get it. Good crowd control chain here by Change My Mind. This could easily be the first ice block of the game if they can stay on target. It needs to be the first ice block of the game. They drop the smoke bomb to press the issue, and they get it. One major objective out of the way, and a good sign of life from Change My Mind.
Yeah, Change My Mind. Those are the exact setups that they want. They just get a lot of aggression rolling. Valet can just spam out the Dispel Magic, and they can just ride off that momentum. Maro now, one ice block down, has another available. Looney into some crowd control. Mind Bomb into Silence. Trinket rolling up in around 18 seconds. If we look at mana, Looney a little bit ahead in this particular matchup. There is decent damage rolling for Wildcard Gaming. A little bit of pressure so far in this game, but I think Acro's going to be fine. He still has his Cloak of Shadows. That's a big safety net for him. Valet hasn't had to use any of his defensive cooldowns yet. Lightning Lasso now on Acro. They need to be careful. They have to try to shut that down if they can. Into a Reg Stun, big burst damage potential, but Minpoike seems to be easily able to deal with it at this time. He stabilizes Acro, and I think this is basically going to be one of those games where your strategy is abuse the melee. Just as much as you can throughout the game. Try to get damage rolling on Acro, bring him into positions where, you know, he's compromised, and it's not going to be easy for Minpoike and Valet to back him up. But so far, it hasn't been working. Change My Mind has been able to deal with that quite easily.
Oh, Tremor Totem able to remove Mind Bomb. That's definitely almost a bit of a soft counter from Wildcard Gaming. I'm wondering if Change My Mind had anticipated that. That means they're going to need to cross crowd control the Elemental Shaman on those big pushes. Acro in a lot of trouble. Cyclone at a sliver of health. I mean, Looney and Catform could kill him through Cloak of Shadows if he's not careful in this position. Cyclone again at very low health. Minpoike is not bashed. Cloak is required, but it's going to be fading and subsiding. Its defense, its immunity to magic is now over. He's still not in a safe position. Now in a Lightning Lasso. No Glider's Medallion. This could be a Void Shift if Morrow can support. Looney, though, gets sapped. Perhaps Change My Mind can turn this on its head and get some pressure. They are targeting ZPie. They realize that the Tremor Totem is going to be a threat to the crowd control that they've brought to game number 2. They need pressure on the Elemental Shaman. Even though they've been working so hard to get Ice Blocks from Morrow, they may be required to actually attack the Shaman. Blind play here onto Looney. He uses Glider's Medallion to break it. That is a pretty standard play as a healer, to use your Medallion to remove blind. It's the longest guaranteed crowd control in the match. Acro in a bit of trouble, though. Another Lightning Lasso. Minpoike saves him with Iron Bark. Continues his assault, but Cyclone with Ursul's Vortex holding him at the pillar. Acro is going to have a difficult time making it back to his target unless he uses a Shadow Step. And then if he does, he's going to get Thunderstormed. So Acro definitely being abused by the matchup and the map. Frost Nova on the Polymorph Dispel. I mean, Acro has been in one spot for the better part of 20 seconds, and Looney's taking advantage of that to sit down and drink. Change My Mind are pushing for aggression while they see the healer drinking. And Poike tried to snipe him with Vortex to get him in combat, but ended up missing. He had to guess. He didn't know exactly where he was, but regardless, Looney now has a significant mana lead.
Oh no, there might be an issue here with ZPie running in place. Finally going to be back. Looney in some crowd control, needs to be able to top him off. Is he going to be able to do so? It does look like it, and that was a big drink there. Big moment for Wildcard Gaming to stay in this matchup. Acro still vulnerable. No Cloak of Shadows for another 23 seconds, but there's a lot of lifelines here for Change My Mind. They still have the Void Shift. They still have Iron Bark Trinket from Minpoike. Big setup now onto ZPie. Looney responds with the Iron Bark to deny some of that damage. And I don't know, Sid, who do you feel like is going to be favored as this matchup advances into later stages of dampening?
I feel like Wildcard Gaming is certainly going to be favored, and it would be unfortunate for any player to have a technical difficulty, as it is their personal responsibility maintain their connection into the match. So the match will not be remade if there is a problem. So hopefully Wildcard Gaming are not going to continue to have that. That would be a devastating way to go down in game number 2 and have the series tied up. Minpoike very far in the corner drinking. I mean, that is the trade, although he was sniped by the Earthbind totem of ZPie, so I do believe he did not regenerate any mana, and he didn't. So drink denial on point from Wildcard Gaming. Their abuse of the map that Changed My Mind picked is on point. They've now developed a significant lead moving into dampening. They've got great crowd control in this position with 3 members locked down. They're trying to follow up with Big Burst. Ray of Frost is going to get Cloak of Shadows. Acrolol now needs to be careful, as he will not have that immunity to effectively all of the damage on Wildcard Gaming's team. The most powerful cooldown in the arsenal of Change My Mind is now not available.
That Cloak of Shadows, such a powerful ability for Acro. Anytime Wildcard Gaming can force that out, it allows Acro to be such a vulnerable target for 2 minutes. He's got about 1 minute and 40 seconds left until that cooldown rolls back up once again. But as a rogue, you have to be very careful. So far, Acro's been doing a good job rotating through his defensives, but he actually opts to use his Trinket and Vanish aggressively. I'm not sure they're going to be able to get too much done. He's just going full-on crowd control right now onto Looney. He has his Trinket. ZPie is just getting lower. Unfortunate. Good crowd control coming in from Acro, and I think that will beat the game. Tied up here. Changed My Mind, winning on Ashmane's Fall.
Yep, obviously unfortunate there for ZPie, presumably disconnecting from the...
They felt the need to go with it. I mean, they set the map up for this comp, but Changed My Mind then took the map in their own advantage by going with the Mage Rogue. So Wildcard Gaming are just saying, well, we're confident with this comp on the map, even though, technically speaking, Rogue Mage has been historically the best pick into an Elemental Shaman. So it's pretty even in that regard due to both teams' reluctance to try and take the advantage compositionally, but rather play around the map's advantage.
It's kind of interesting. What do you feel about Minpoike, Acro, and Fried Kitty all running Relentless in this matchup?
Maybe it's to deal with the Lightning Lasso, try and reduce its effectiveness overall. It does mean that if Minpoike is ever polymorphed, he will not be able to get out and escape, especially if one of his partners are Lightning Lassoed. So it's maybe just to maximize their damage. That's the only thing that really makes sense to me, and then reduce the effectiveness of Lightning Lasso. Whereas on the opposing side, of course, all 3 members running Glider's Medallion. That is to deal with the rogue as the threat. You typically want to be, unless you're playing Orc, or human. You want to be running that Gladiator's Medallion because the Rogue Smoke Bomb is such a big threat. If you're not running that, you'll just be caught in that line of sight blocker and burst it down. I mean, already instantly at the start of the game, Acro has dropped that Smoke Bomb. Zipa able to escape out of it, but into a Cyclone at low health, and Cyclone stops healing and damage, so he's going to hover at that health until he comes out. Looney, though, immediately recovers. I would say that Wildcard Gaming dealt with that Smoke Bomb very easily, not even having to use Iron Bark or Astral Shift. No Gladiator's Medallion, so Acro's early aggression not paying off.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Pretty much everyone in this game is running the Night Elf race, and if you're wondering why, it's for the racial shadow meld, and if they're not running that, they're going to be running the Dark Iron Dwarf. And the reason why so many of these players and so many of these teams have opted in to these two different racials is to deal with the Gladiator's Maledict. When it was first introduced, players really didn't know how to deal with it, and it was just overwhelming. People were just falling down from 3 members of the team throwing in a Gladiator's Maledict. It's overwhelming amount of healing reduction, healing absorb, and damage. So they decided to go with the Shadow Meld, with the Dark Iron Dwarf, to help sort of mitigate those trinkets and stay alive in in the game for a prolonged period of time. It's an adaptation these teams made, specifically when that trinket was brought in.
Yep, definitely a nice pickup, playing the Night Elf and the Dark Iron Dwarf. Decent damage here on Fried Kitty. Actually a bit surprising this early on. Poike, though, out of crowd control and able to stabilize. It should be fairly easy for both Druids to be able to drink on this map, so my anticipation for this is that it's going to be a long haul game, definitely into the deeper stages of dampening, and there's going to be a critical mass point, I think around the 20 and 30% mark, where Acro will force Astral Shift from Zipai and still have Vendetta, and then have one opportunity to push and kill, and if they don't get the kill on Zipai in that opportunity, then they will lose. In this position, they've actually gotten Astral Shift before Vendetta. Perhaps they can create that situation prior to dampening. This crowd control attempt from Change My Mind definitely on point, banking them some very important cooldowns. They've actually managed to continue the chain. Multiple Gladiator's Maledicts. Acro definitely needs to stay on target, but gets Lightning Lassoed, so he's held in place, unable to finish off the target. And actually, Fried Kitty was taking quite a bit of damage from Maro amidst that push. Poike now taking a huge chunk of his health away from Zipai's Earthshock. Wildcard Gaming focusing on just maximizing their damage output, and Poike is having a tough time.
Acro getting low. What is he going to be able to do? Poike 50% mana at this point of the game. Looney way ahead at around 75%. Are looking for some polymorphs. Does manage to find it on Acro. He just wants to slow down, Change My Mind. They realize they have a mana advantage at this point. If they can just keep up the strategy, it will potentially net them a win. Poike trying to get out of combat, trying to sit down for a drink. Can Zipai, can Marl stop them? Doesn't look like they're going to be able to. Finally, yeah, actually they do. They find the Earthquake, and with this positioning, Looney is in a great spot to sit down, recover his mana by drinking, extending their lead even further. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get too much. It's good for Change My Mind. Poike has to start healing really efficiently in this matchup. He has the Innervate. Going to be waiting for a good moment to use that, where he really has to use a lot of mana to catch up, like right now. So he uses the Innervate. Oh, whoa! Acro, I cannot believe Acro didn't use Cloak of Shadows there. I mean, he ended up using the Vanish, but that was lucky. Acro barely holds on, 5% health, and that's one of the scary things about playing up against a Frost Mage, playing up against an Elemental Shaman, is at any moment they can throw a big Shatter combo paired with an Earth Shock, and they can just wipe the floor with you. Acro has to definitely be careful of that moving forward.
I almost can't believe that he didn't cloak on top of being at that low health. I mean, he could have just thrown the game away entirely at that point in time. And that's the one thing, although it is a long series, every game going into deep dampening, the Elemental Shaman still has the potential to just erase you. So if you're even falling asleep at the keyboard for a moment, you are going to get blasted out of the arena, and Zipai will be taking advantage of that at any opportunity. Wildcard Gaming, in their past tournament lives, have been known as the dampeners. They love taking it into as deep dampening as possible, dragging the fight out, fatiguing the opposing team. They are definitely known for this strategy, masters of it. So Change My Mind need to make sure they're on point and not falling asleep at the wheel here in this series. They face elimination.
Yeah, I mean, it's a scary moment. Acro in a Lightning Lasso. Keep in mind, he's playing Relentless. All these Lightning Lassos will sit full, so I really feel like Wildcard Gaming, they're abusing that. And Acro, he doesn't have an opportunity sometimes to get that Cloak of Shadow and that Vanish off when he really needs it, and that could end up netting a kill for Wildcard Gaming. So although it does reduce the overall damage, you're still so susceptible to just getting stuck in those stuns that I don't know if it was the right decision to make. And then Poike gets shut down on the drink once again, stun onto Acro into a Lightning Lasso. Looney in a great position. And that's one of the advantages that Wildcard Gaming have on this map, is Looney is always so positioned. He's positioned very far away, and it's really difficult for Acro and Fried Kitty to shut that down. And Poike positioning now in a good spot. If he can recover his mana, things will be looking good for Change My Mind, as they are way behind. Looks like Change My Mind, they're not even going to bother shutting it down, and I think this is a big mistake.
Yep, definitely could be. Both Druids regenerated back to pretty much full mana, so an even ball game. Moving into deep dampening, we're getting that 20-30% dampening mark, so Change My Mind need to look to try and get Astral Shift without using either Icy Veins or Vendetta, and then make a push later and try and kill Z-Pi with one of those two cooldowns. If they can set that situation up with good crowd control on Looney and deny Maro from casting Polymorph, then most certainly Change My Mind can find victory here and potentially put Wildcard Gaming on match point. However, if they aren't able to create that situation and they can't overwhelm Z-Pi and he is able to escape, then the deeper into dampening we go, the deeper down the rabbit hole we go, the more advantaged in favor of Wildcard Gaming it will become, as their damage will just start to stick and Poike will not be able to heal through it. Acro will struggle to stay on target, so there's limited time windows where they can get pressure. They've activated Vendetta. They're making a big push for that Astral Shift while Looney was trying to drink. Can they get it is the question. They're not even getting the Astral Shift. Z-Pi going into Ghost Wolf, using likely the Honor Talent Spectral Recovery, which every 3 seconds heals him for 1% of his health, and the Azerite trait Pack Spirit. This Azerite trait and the Honor Talent combined together turns your Ghost Wolf into a Panzer tank, and unless you can strip it off with Spell Steal before deeper stages of dampening, it is very unlikely that you will be able to kill a Shaman through those combinations of Honor Talents and Azerite traits.
I can't be the only one wondering this. What is a Panzer tank?
Panzer tank? Isn't it like it's a German tank, isn't it? It's like the best tank or something.
I don't know.
It has the highest armor.
It's the most OP tank.
Yeah, that's supposed to be the reference. Someone Google this. Make sure that I'm right, but I'm pretty sure I'm right.
All right, well, now that we all know that, the more you know, knowledge is power. Acro going to be taking a little bit of damage. T-Pose put a kitty shot over on the Z-Pi, trying to generate some pressure. We're at 20% dampening at this point. Looney into a crowd control. Nice Polymorph secured there by Fried Kitty. Maro backing him up by just spamming out Polymorph onto Fried Kitty, and that's what it's all about for Maro. Any time that Change My Mind starts developing pressure, he can just throw out Polymorphs onto Acro and Fried Kitty. Their moments of opportunity in this matchup are much lower, so whenever they do find them, Maro can just control up the game as much as possible. As long as he stays alive, as long as he can drag Acro into the open, it's going to be a major benefit to his team.
It could definitely be a benefit. Acro and Z-Pi are going to be the focus fire targets here as dampening gets higher and higher, so all the pressure will be on them to kind of anticipate attacks, get into the best defensive position before getting dropped, and you are going to drop very fast into deep dampening. Although it has been fairly slow pace up to this point, things will rapidly ramp up, and currently Acro is leading the charge to try and build pressure here on Z-Pi. Looney dispels that Gladiator's Maledict effect, removing its healing absorption and totally stalling that assault. So they are unable to pull Astral Shift from Z-Pi prior to Vendetta, and that is the main objective of Change My Mind. And the longer that they spend in midfield, the more damage they take, the further they fall behind, and the more likely they are to lose. So I am curious if they can make it to that point, or if they're going to just crumble under the pressure. Vendetta trades for Astral Shift here and dampening, and Z-Pi can escape in Ghost Wolf while Looney is crowd controlled. So I think that this is a fair moment, or fair exchange of cooldowns from Z-Pi. Definitely going 1 for 1. However, Icy Veins is available, so now they can go with that for a big punch. They need to make sure that they take off the Ghost Wolf when they go for the attack. Lightning Lasso, Acro in trouble. No Iron Bark for 7, no Cloak for 30 seconds, so Acro has a hard decision to make. Does he push forward and try and get the kill when he has such limited defense, or does he wait and lose potentially the opportunity to be able to win the game? That is about when the situation that he needs to create and decide on his own. They aren't on match point just yet, so the stress isn't at its highest point, but if they could take away Tolvaron, that means that the biggest maps are out of the pool, and I would say that's favorable to Change My Mind because their spellcaster compositions are just inferior to the ones that Wildcard Gaming have, and these are the largest maps, and they benefit the spellcasters the most, especially the ones that are the most superior. Acro stunned up again, and Poike denies the kill with Iron Bark. Mana is still even. It is still too difficult to call who is going to take this. However, the longer that it goes, the more of a stalemate that it is. I do favor Wildcard Gaming.
Yeah, I feel like Wildcard Gaming, with the way they're playing it, it's looking good, but things can spiral out of control really quickly against an Assassination Rogue in Dampening, one of the highest single target damage classes in the entire game. Full Cyclone on Looney, Polymorph on Tomorrow. Good crowd control here. Mpoike gets swapped to. He has to be a little bit scared in this situation, activating his Innervate. Mana relatively even for both of these healers. Icy Vins gets popped out by Morrow. He's looking to get really aggressive. Meanwhile, Fried Kitty as well. He's trying to get some damage rolling on to Zeepai. Fried Kitty has to be careful. Big Shatter combo potentially coming from Morrow. Fried Kitty hightailing it out of there. He's going to be hiding as much as possible, but he blinks in line of sight. He's just taking so much damage.
Scary.
That was a bit of a scary play there for Fried Kitty. That could have been a big mistake.
Comes out of the ice block, still kind of low. Does get polymorphed, reset on health. Mana actually in favor of Changed My Mind, so perhaps if they can prevent Looney from regenerating that, they could win with just some sustained pressure. Although Fried Kitty will have to be careful. Now down one ice block, the lead is in favor, and cooldowns is for Wildcard Gaming. Vendetta gets activated, Morrow polymorphs Acro, but gets interrupted on the follow-up and then polymorphed himself, so good denial. So Acro gets good uptime. Blind, Looney uses Medallion, fair trade. Fried Kitty gets bursted, and this is the downside when facing the Elemental Shaman Mage, is you feel like you're in control and you're making the push, but suddenly it's just turned on its head and you're at 2% health and having to ice block the second time. Ironbark's out of the way, and I mean at this point, they have to kill Zeepai in the next stun. There's no Astral Shift, no Gladius Medallion and Looney. So if they get perfect crowd control and Morrow goes AFK effectively and doesn't use anything to get out of crowd control to stop them, then maybe they can kill Zeepai. Morrow actually getting aggressive, ice blocking to try and get on target. He actually threw away 2 valuable abilities to save Zeepai in the future to try and get aggressive. So perhaps an opportunity for Change My Mind, but they are very far behind.
Yeah, but you can see Zeepai's in a lot of trouble, and this is what I'm talking about. The Assassination Rogue on that Elemental Shaman, it can become very scary, especially at 45% dampening. Shadow Step Kick incoming from Acro. He's still all over Zeepai. Zeepai's trying to escape. He's trying to run away. Garrote Silence comes in. This could be the setup that they need. They're losing all game, but at 48% dampening, they turned it around. Zeepai barely holding on. Lightning Lasso onto Acro. Looney getting out of crowd control, but he does not have enough time. Change My Mind.
A ruckus in the lower bracket, looking for a rematch against Method Black, which they got stomped earlier. So hopefully this warm-up on Rogue Mage, if they manage to make it all the way, could prove to be quite an entertaining grand final if they decide to mirror each other and decide who is the best Rogue Mage Druid of Europe in the Summer Cup #1. Of course, Wildcard Gaming, they want to be getting top first place finishes so they can pass Method Black on points, because right now North America has 1 spot at BlizzCon. If North America wins the next LAN, they will have, I believe, 3 spots, and Europe will only have 1. And that 1 spot will go to the top point earner, which is currently Method Black. So Wildcard Gaming have to outperform Method Black in basically every cup if they want to pass them on points and have that security to qualify to the World Finals.
Yeah, it looks like Changed My Mind. They're opting for the train the healer strategy. Fried Kitty and Mpoike are going to be looking to control up Zeepai and Blizzo as best as possible, while Acro creates some windows of opportunity onto Looney throughout the game. And if they can consistently do that, they can really limit the damage Blizzo and Zeepai have available. Fried Kitty now getting bursted down. And one thing we have to see from Changed My Mind in this matchup is avoiding the ability Dark Simulacrum from Zeepai. Zeepai, with that ability, has an opportunity to steal spells from his opponent. If he takes a powerful spell like Cyclone or Polymorph, he's going to be able to use that on him and Mpoike and start generating a lot of pressure for his team. So a little mind game that Fried Kitty and Mpoike have to be very well aware of.
Looney being pressured early on. Change My Mind are definitely open to swapping to the healer, which is another vulnerability of the Mistweaver. Fried Kitty, though, taking quite a beating here from Blizzo, trying to blink to safety, using Frost Nova, Ice Nova to hold Blizzo in place so he cannot immediately reconnect, and then also Frost Nova immediately afterwards. I feel like Zeepai has not moved for some time, but will now be making his way towards Fried Kitty, and there will be nothing to stop his assault, and that means that they will engage crowd control on Mpoike. Change My Mind in the position. No, they can't avoid damage, so they are going to trade defensive cooldowns, the Temporal Shield, but overlapped with the Ironbark. So this slight overlap is now an opportunity for Wildcard Gaming. They're waiting for another big push. They're waiting for Zeepai to get out of crowd control, which he now has. It's time to make a push with that opening. Because of that mistake, the Temporal and Ironbark aren't available. This could be a good push for an Ice Block. Ice Barrier denying it for now. Fried Kitty gripped back into the fight. Zeepai wants to make his way back, but unable to. Fried Kitty using mobility during this attack, both of his shimmers, to avoid having to use an Ice Block, and it's all about denying the Ice Blocks from Wildcard Gaming, and he's doing that through the usage of Shimmer, Ironbark, and Temporal, although making some mistakes, How do they decide to deal with this leg sweep? And Poike is going to use Iron Bark. Fried Kitty should not use Temporal Shield in this position so that he can use it on the next attack. This now allows them to be more aggressive, and they are going after Looney with that opportunity.
I think it's a really intelligent strategy. Honestly, as a Frost Mage, having Windwalker Monk and an Unholy Death Knight train you down, it really severely limits your opportunity to build up your damage with Frostbolt. So I like the idea that they're going after Looney instead and just putting as much control as possible on the Blizzo and Z-Bat, because if those two classes, the Windwalker, the Unholy Death Knight, have high uptime, it's really difficult for Minpoike to deal with that. So just put control on them, try to attack for Looney as often as possible. The thing is, Looney's been doing a really good job in this matchup so far. He's been able to tank through a lot of the damage Acro has available. Of course, if we move into dampening, that becomes a little bit more difficult, limiting some of that passive healing Looney has with the Renewing Mist, with the Serpent Jade statue, and that's when his tree gets opened up and he can get interrupted on Soothing Mist. And Poike actually getting swapped to here. Nice job by Wildcard Gaming, sort of keeping Change My Mind guessing. I think they were getting a little bit too comfortable with this train Fried Kitty strategy. So I think finding those opportunities are going to be big.
Big attack onto Looney. Beautiful Cyclone from Minpoike to 9. You see all those glowing icons below Looney's health. Those are important cooldowns that keep him alive, but if he's cycloned, he can't gain any advantage of them. So Minpoike totally shut Looney down. Now tossing out a Star Surge and trying to go for the kill. Z-Pyre was able to steal a Cyclone and use it on Acro to also try and save him. That is one of the key moves that kept Looney alive during this attack. He cannot afford to make a mistake like that again, especially deeper into dampening. That was almost their entire tournament over right there, and they need to place first. They need to beat Method Black. They have to pass them on points. Otherwise, they have no security to make it to BlizzCon.
Yeah, definitely an interesting moment for sure. Acro kidney shotting up Looney. Blizzo uses his Transcendence to get in line of sight using the grapple weapon onto Acro. This is an honor talent that I see Blizzo run more than any other Windwalker Monk. The ability to grapple weapon from your opponent, limiting their damage. It's a great way to slow down Acro, especially during those kidney shots onto Looney where he is the most vulnerable. So as long as Blizzo is on point with those grapple weapons, he can save Looney quite frequently. I mean, Poike was able to sneak away and recover his mana. We have just entered dampening at this point in the game. Have to see what they can get done. Blizzo and Z-Pai, they've been sort of thrown for a loop. Normally, Windwalker Death Knight, they can just sit on the mage and it limit his damage and eventually you win, but they haven't been able to get anything from Fried Kitty at this point in the game. And because of that, they're going after different targets, but I think it's a mistake. Fried Kitty, you can see he's able to just free cast Frostbolts. All of a sudden, he can load up his damage by building Icicles, building Fingers of Frost procs, as well as Brain Freeze procs, and if he can get out that damage, it makes it so difficult for Looney to heal through the Rogue powered with that mage that's just free casting, and as a result, you can see Blizzo, he's in a little bit of trouble. Yeah,
Blizzo is in a bit of trouble. That's mostly off the back of Looney's decision to not use Glaire's Medallion on blind. He anticipates that he's the target, so he wants to use his Glaire's Medallion on kidney shots with Vendetta. And then in this case, Blizzo has to use his own personal defensive cooldowns because Looney isn't healing him while he sat there blind. This now opens an opportunity for Change My Mind to kill Blizzo instead, so Looney has to be ready. He could be the target, Blizzo could be the target, and Change My Mind have that surprise at their disposal. How they utilize it could determine whether or not they find victory or not here on game number 4 in this series. It's match point for them, so the pressure is on.
Yeah, pressure is on. That's right. Blizzo charging forward. He's going to be doing a little bit of damage over on the Fried Kitty. They managed to slow down Minpoike's Drink, and that's a win condition here for Wildcard Gaming. On this smaller map on Dalaran Sewers, it's a great opportunity to make sure Minpoike is not able to drink. Fried Kitty getting bursted down to Pearl Shield does bounce him back to full health. Kitty shot over onto Looney. Once again, Blizzo uses Transcendence. He uses the grapple weapon into Asphyxiate Stun. They're really trying to punish Acro for being behind the pillar, but Minpoike is in a great position with Iron Bark, with Innervate to keep him alive with those very powerful Restoration Druid cooldowns. Now it's a Blizzo that's under fire as Fried Kitty has been generating a lot of momentum for his team.
Yeah, he has been developing a lot of momentum for his team. Dampening kicks in, mana is even, cooldowns are even. It's still anyone's match. Wildcard Gaming can keep their tournament dreams alive, and they're making a big push. Fried Kitty could fall if he makes a mistake. Ice Block is forced. One Ice Block out of the way. Now, perhaps a slight advantage to Wildcard Gaming. Here's the decision that Looney needs to make. Does he use the Glaire's Medallion to get out of this crowd control and save Blizzo, or does he allow Blizzo to use personal defensive cooldowns? In this position, he's decided to let Blizzo use personal defensive cooldowns, he feels that he is more likely to die in the future. And whether or not that decision ends up being correct, we will find out momentarily. Can Blizzo outplay his opponents? He's going to have to make sure that his Transcendence is always out of line of sight, and he is able to use it whenever Looney is crowd controlled. He's going to have to be kiting as effectively as players like we saw yesterday, like Zach. If he makes even one mistake, and we have seen him make mistakes with that Transcendence where he portals nowhere, he will die. It looks like Wildcard Gaming, though, they're mixing it up. They are relentless in their assault to try and maybe get a kill here on Minpoike, but Fried Kitty was more than ready. Polymorphs lined up. Zpi can't connect, and Minpoike recovers.
Yeah, I think that's one of the strengths of going after the Frost Mage is you limit those polymorphs and damage as much as possible when you're not on him and you're making these swaps on him. Minpoike and Acro, as long as Fried Kitty's ready, he can defend quite easily with polymorph and with Novas and Roots. So I think when they do go for those all-in setups on him Minpoike, they need to be throwing out a paralysis on Fried Kitty or a ranged interrupt like Mind Freeze to slow down some of those peels and allow their assault onto Minpoike to be a little bit longer lasting. Now Fried Kitty getting interrupted. Big burst damage once again. Temporal Shield looking to deny, but they did manage to get the Iron Bark and the Temporal Shield. Fried Kitty, both his shimmers. At this point, he's just a sitting duck. If we can see Blizzo get some uptime once again, Fried Kitty really can't go anywhere, and this is the moment they can get the second Ice Block. No Temporal Shield, no shimmer, no Iron Bark. Fried Kitty has to hold on somehow.
And not a lot of mana either. I mean, Wildcard Gaming, they're in a pretty good position right now to take this to a game number 5, but Change My Mind have the swing match advantage. They can pick the map. They know what comp is coming their way. So this entire series really rests with them and their ability to out-strategize their opponents should this go to game number 5, which it's looking like it will. Touch of Death about to explode, and it's going to be doing a huge hit here on the Fried Kitty. And Poike desperately trying to stabilize, but he is also being pressured. He's actually just dying to the Unholy Death Knight pet off to the side. Change My Mind, they're desperate to kill Looney, but grapple weapon denies any damage from Acro. He can't stay on target. Looney is so healthy on mana and cooldowns at this point. But Minpoike, look where he is. He's in stealth. Zpi's trying to get there to stop him, but why was the pet not on Minpoike? That he shot melted off? He got some mana, but really I don't think it's enough, but at least it's something.
Yeah, better than nothing still. Fried Kitty, no Temporal Shield, no Iron Bark. Blizzo, Zpi, they're on target. Can they get the second Ice Block? A full Katie shot on Looney. He could be in trouble. Ring of Peace gets dropped out by Blizzo to try to keep Looney alive. And Poike actually charges in and gets the diminishing return bash. I think that might have been a mistake. Now he's really scared. Asphyxiate into leg sweep. What is Minpoike going to do to get away? Does manage to escape, but that was definitely a risky play coming in from Minpoike.
Yeah, very risky play, although being up in the series, I think you can take risks, and if it pays off, you just advance to have a rematch against Method Black. If it doesn't, you go to game 5 where you have all the advantages. So I do think Change My Mind should take risks, try and go for some all-ins. They've managed to set up a drink. How much mana can they get? I mean, if he ends up even getting... Oh my goodness. Change My Mind. They've just kept their tournament dreams alive there with that drink here on Dalaran Sewers. That's going to open up a huge amount of extra time.
Nice setup.
Although, gripped into a double stun means an Ice Block, so there's no defense. They actually switched to Minpoike as well. I love the swap. As soon as the mage is immune to damage and Ice Block, hit something else that isn't immune. Put pressure onto 2 places. Minpoike then has to spend a lot more time recovering. Good reaction from Wildcard Gaming. But because Minpoike got a drink, I believe that he can heal this for some time, even though there are no Ice Blocks. They're going after Blizzo. They're trying to get that Touch of Karma before Blind. Acro is actually marching over, kind of anticipating that Blizzo will run and also looking for Blind. Looney's still reluctant to use Gliders, now using it, so I do believe they're going to kill Looney in the near future. There's Vendetta available. Change My Mind can 100-0 Looney if they properly crowd control Zpi. Anti-magic zone's the only thing that could keep Looney alive, really.
Ooh, touch of death.
But here comes a big push. Iron Bark needs to be enough. Will it be is now the question. Touch of Death about to explode. It's a big hit. Dampening is very high. Blizzo in a bit of trouble at the same time. He's afraid. He actually portals away and abandons the kill on Fried Kitty. Now he's still low on health. Looney is crowd controlled. Touch of Karma. Blizzo's 1v1ing Acro in what could be the final seconds of the match. Acro goes for a Vanish play, setting up even more damage, but Looney's out of crowd control.
Acro could just die.
And Acro doesn't. It's looking like we're going to a game 5. Minpoike gets it interrupted, and Acro loses the 1v1 behind the pillar. Wildcard Gaming tie it up.
Actually reminds me of
They need first place finish after first place finish if they want to surpass Method Black on points and have security at the BlizzCon finals, because right now Europe overall is going to be a lot more stressed as North America took the last LAN event.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Sid, it's very, very important here for Wildcard Gaming to try to catch up on points with Method Black, because Europe, they're just losing every single international LAN lately.
Yep, I mean, you definitely can't argue with that.
You need to, I'm not happy you're bringing that up. You're just going to set these guys off again.
Yep, here we go. Looney into a kidney shot. Is he going to be taking too much damage? Blizzo once again, grapple weapon, going to look to deny. But Looney's not in the best situation right now. Acro's having a really difficult time reconnecting to his target. Chains of Ice, such a powerful snare. I mean, we talk about the Frost Mage snares quite a bit. Most of their snares are very powerful, 60%, 70%, but Chains of Ice for a Death Knight is absolutely insane. And you can see Acro right now trying to get on target, but ZPal limiting his mobility with that Chains of Ice consistently in this matchup. It makes it so Acro can really only get uptime during the Shadow Step Kidney Shot windows.
Yeah, but even in that small window, he can net a kill for his team. They've got Vendetta. There's no Gladius Medallion. There's no Life Cocoon. And on Runes of Lordaeron, you can totally get a kill on a healer, and I do think that's why I changed my mind. Went for this map. They want to kill Looney. Now, if Looney isn't ready for that, then maybe they just lose a series. They lose an opportunity to earn a lot of points and surpass Method Black, which have effectively been their rivals throughout the entire year. And then Method Black are just sitting comfortable. They've got the security. They've got the guaranteed spot on points. Wildcard Gaming, because of the difference between first and second, assuming that Method Black get top 2 every single time, it's only a 20-point difference. And right now, there's 20, 60 points difference right now between them, so it would take more than 3 cups of getting first and second for Wildcard Gaming to pass them. That's why it's so important for Wildcard Gaming to not lose here. They cannot afford to lose here.
And that's a question I actually have for Zico. If there's any, actually, quickly, Looney could actually be taking quite a bit of damage. He does manage to survive. The Growth Silence comes in as all 3 members sort of dogpile, who will survive off the back of that life cocoon. But I was going to ask you, Zico, if there's any healer in Europe that you would bet on living against Rogue Mage, who has a lot of practice, who would it be?
Healing stat, obviously.
Thank you.
Okay, healing stat. All right, that's competing in the AWC.
Second.
Looney.
Yeah, it would be Looney. I feel like Looney, if there's any healer we can count on to make sure he's effectively rotating through his cooldowns against a Rogue Mage in order to survive on the Mystery Monk, on the Restoration Druid. I mean, this guy has done it time after time, year after year, so I feel like changed my mind. They definitely have their work cut out for them in this particular matchup if their main strategy is just train down Looney.
So far, so good for Wildcard Gaming. They hold a lot of defensive cooldowns. They haven't been caught off guard, but nice drink from Minpoike. Resetting his mana, realizing that was definitely not going in his favor, has now brought his team back into the fight as a result of that. Wildcard Gaming maybe dropping the ball or just unable to stop him. Interesting move here. ZPal uses Dark Simulacrum to steal Polymorph from the Mage Fried Kitty, then use that Polymorph on Minpoike to stop him from healing, so then they can attack the Mage who is not being healed. Unfortunately, not enough damage to really get an ice block with that attempt. It is definitely unfortunate. Changed my mind now, changing gears, going after Looney once again.
Ooh, nice.
Burst him down, counter spell, interrupting Looney. He can't heal. He wants to go for the way of the Crane, maybe, but then gets cycloned at low health. And that is resetting the cooldown of Kidney Shot for Acro, which can stun a target and is very effective against a healer, stopping them from healing when they are stunned. Looney needs to avoid Acro lulls at all costs. Acro is just Terminator style at the healer right now. If he connects with that Kidney Shot and Vendetta, it's likely that we'll see the Gladius Medallion, which then opens up potential to win with Blind instead later on. Although Acro has spent a lot of time running at the healer, he's overextended. And I mean, that's how they lost Dalaran as well. So he needs to be careful about choosing when to get overly aggressive.
This is really good positioning coming in from Looney. Not a lot of healers will use this little area, this little grave site, to just sort of maneuver and manipulate the enemy team, but all of those graves are out of line of sight. So if he can get behind them, it makes it really difficult for Fried Kitty to get off any sort of significant damage. And also, you're dragging Acro in a position where he's out of line of sight of Minpoike. So Minpoike, you can see he's positioned quite far away, but when Acro's chasing Looney, he's forcing Minpoike in to a closer range, and Acro's actually not able to get heals unless Minpoike gets right on top of him. So I think this positioning coming in from Wildcard Gaming is really, really intelligent, and it's allowing ZPal and Blizzo to develop a lot of pressure in the matchup.
I also can't believe that you guys wouldn't have said that Botar is the best healer surviving Rogue Mage, considering Adrian got to experience that firsthand. ZPal, although getting bursted down now in this position, has to trade out the Icebound Fortitude to stabilize, and even still is actually quite low on health. It's a bit surprising to see the Death Knight under so much pressure before we've entered Dampening, but he has now recovered. That could be an option for Change My Mind if they can maintain mana deeper into Dampening to kill the Death Knight. We've certainly seen that as an option in previous games.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just baffled at how long it took you to come up with that insult against Adrian.
He was so proud of himself.
Yeah.
He had a big smile on his face. The biggest smile
Whoa!
again.
Fried Kitty getting bursted down. Temporal Shield bounces them back up. He's already used the Cold Snap. He's only got one Ice block left. And Poike's mana is doing quite well, but Looney's doing way better in terms of mana management at this point. He's just having to heal himself up. He Transcendence is out of line of sight, connects a few heals, and now he's completely fine. If Fried Kitty wants to chase, he has to use Shimmers, and unfortunately, he gets himself in a really awkward situation. And Poike was able to sneak away just a little bit, but didn't have time to fully recover his mana in the game. Does top off Fried Kitty, but slowly but surely, Wildcard Gaming are developing a lead in terms of mana.
Yep, definitely a significant one. And Poike will need to retreat off and drink. Looks like he's trying to do that right now. So Wildcard Gaming, what are you going to do while Poike drinks? I guess you're just going to kill the rogue. I mean, that's a perfectly viable option. Acrolol has to respect that push, use evasion, Cloak of Shadows to survive, and now he'll be vulnerable. Fried Kitty's already down one ice block, so they trade to get full mana on important and essentially vital cooldowns to stay alive through burst damage, which will then prevent Acrolol from being as aggressive as he would like to be in the future. So I am curious if Wildcard Gaming can seize that opportunity and punish moving forward, because otherwise Poike is doing a great job on his mana management.
Yeah, it certainly is, but the thing is, we saw in the last game, even though Poike was able to recover his mana, guess what? Windwalker Death Knight, they do a lot of damage. They can just flat out win the game, even when the Wrestler Druid does have mana. So this is a very scary composition to go against. Zeepai actually getting swapped to, and I think this is going to be smart. If Change My Mind can stall out the game a little bit longer, they go after Zeepai at later stages of dampening. Early on, the Unholy Death Knight with Death Strike has a lot of self-healing, but that severely gets limited later on, and they do manage to force out the Life Cocoon on Zeepai. Poike being caught into a leg sweep, Acro running away as he realizes he's in a bit of danger. He's got no evasion, no vanish, no trinket, no nothing, and without cooldowns on a rogue, you're a very squishy target. If Blizzo and Zeepai can land a full stun on him with any sort of crowd control in Poike, he could definitely be a vulnerable target once again.
Change My Mind have been on a tear. They've been taking games off teams that they were 0-18 against or 0-15 against in the spring season. They've definitely improved, but here it's still an even ball game. Anyone could take it, and it's game 5. The loser is going home in 3rd place. Change My Mind are already so far behind on overall points in the standings that perhaps if they got first place every single time and Method Black had a terrible performance throughout some of these cups, they could pass them. Although I feel like the situation is not possible. Change My Mind, I think, are relying mostly on qualifying through winning the summer finals at this point in the year in terms of their point standings, but to guarantee a qualification there, they need some top performances. So finding a win here against Wildcard Gaming, having a rematch against Method Black would help their odds. That Ring of Peace, did it hit Poike? Not sure. It looks like they're going to have to trade an Ice Block for mana.
That's a big deal.
But now Acro is getting swapped too. If he has to use evasion on top of an Ice Block, 2 members will be in danger moving forward, and Wildcard Gaming could just overwhelm Change My Mind. This is, I would say, now in favor of Wildcard Gaming heavily.
Yeah, definitely Acro. Gladiator Safeguard does end up proccing with the Feint. Zeepai a little bit of a vulnerable target. And of course, Poike was able to recover some mana, but that was at the cost of a nice block from Fried Kitty. He has Cold Snap coming up in around 40 seconds. He'll be safe once again once that cooldown is up. But Blizzo and Zeepai, they're going to be looking to generate some pressure. Zeepai marching forward, trying to roll some damage on Fried Kitty. There's an opportunity. If they can get the Iron Bark out, it's going to be massive. Temporal Shield, Iron Bark, overlap. Now there's a short window where Touch of Death is available for Blizzo. And Fried Kitty, he doesn't have the Cold Snap for 20 seconds. They can make an all-in push right here, right now. Ring of Peace knocks Fried Kitty back into Zeepai, back into Blizzo. Leg Sweep gets traded out. Blizzo, why are you not using Touch of Death? This is the perfect moment. This is literally the perfect moment. They could have taken him down, but Cold Snap will ultimately roll back up in 5 seconds. And I think Fried Kitty is going to be able to hold on.
Opportunity missed and whiffed for Wildcard Gaming. Touch of Death, the strongest attack in Wildcard Gaming's arsenal. There was a moment of opportunity where Change My Mind had no defenses for it, and they didn't activate it. So now Fried Kitty does have defense for it. Acro does have defense for it. So unlikely that it will find a kill, and likely that this game will continue on. Although if Poike can get mana, Zeepai certainly becomes an option to kill. Perhaps Change My Mind should look to soften him up, get through some of the cooldowns now, so that when dampening is higher, he is as vulnerable as possible. And Poike, he's done it. He has full mana. This is exactly what he needs to be able to find a kill on the Death Knight. I mean, to find a kill on anyone, but the Death Knight does become increasingly more tasty because his mobility is limited, and then when Death Strike is not so effective, he can't run away, he can't Death Strike. pretty much just die. So at 40% dampening, that is going to be the magic marker for Change My Mind. And they have everything. They have evasion still. They have one more ice block. They've got Iron Bark, and they've got full mana. This is looking solid for Change My Mind.
Full sap onto Looney. They move forward. Frozen Orb gets dropped out. Blizzo trying to back him up. Grapple weapon over onto Acro. Paralysis, Incapacitate on Fried Kitty, and he completely shuts down that attempt on Zeepai. Zeepai does manage to hold on, but Looney actually traded out the Life Cocoon. He throws out the Life Cocoon. He's actually going down for a drink. So preemptively activating that damage reduction, that healing, or that big damage absorption effect, and allows him to recover his mana completely. Very heads-up play by Looney.
All right, Looney. Both healers are at full mana, and we are getting to the chaos zone of dampening. It's game number 5. Anybody could take it at this point. One mistake is going to cost you the tournament. You're going to be going home in 3rd. And of these 3 teams, they are the top point earners of the entire year. Change My Mind in 3rd, Wildcard Gaming in 2nd. So there's a lot on the line in terms of potential qualifications to not only the Summer Finals, but BlizzCon and the World Finals as well. There is good pressure right now from Change My Mind on the 2 targets as they continue battling it out now out in the open. I would say this positioning favors the Rogue Mage, so perhaps Wildcard Gaming should reposition. Zeepai, he's going back and forth between the tombstones, now pushing out towards Acro. Beautiful Dark Simulacrum on Cyclone. And Poike is now Cyclone. He can't heal, and it's his own Cyclone that he's sitting through. This one mistake could cost them the series, as Acro Lulz is so low on health. Dampening is so high. If Minpoike is even interrupted on one heal, it could easily be the end of the game. Cloak of Shadows available. Minpoike recovering, trying to fake cast. Doesn't want to get interrupted by any sort of crowd control or interrupts. Zeepai retreats back to the pillar, realizing that the kill is now lost. Perhaps trying to wait for a kill later on. Minpoike jumps in for crowd control, but gets deflected away by Zeepai. Good defense there on his part to break up the crowd control, but now Minpoike is poking closer. Fried Kitty's on one side, Minpoike on the other. They curve Minpoike in. Are they going for the swap? Are they going for the 1-2 punch on the healer? Maybe they just kill 2 targets at the same time. This damage could be overwhelming at now 45% dampening. Acro, what are you going to do? Cloak of Shadows on such low health. Minpoike somehow, some way, keeping the team alive. It is his drinks, his mana management that have finally gotten them to this point in dampening where they have an opportunity to kill, I would say, either Looney or Zeepai. Change My Mind just need to execute it out. They need to get the damage onto Zeepai as soon as possible, but they're falling behind. There's no answer. Blizzo's Touch of Death is about to explode. It hits Acro hard. A stolen polymorph on Minpoike, once again from Zeepai, could be the game-winning factor. 2 members at critical mass in terms of health. Acro needs most of the triage, though, as Fried Kitty has ice blocks. Minpoike knows that and allocated all of his biggest heals to Acro instead, and Fried Kitty is focused on avoiding damage while Minpoike tries to set up heals for him as well. And momentum is so far in favor now of Wildcard Gaming that I'm almost feeling that they should be able to walk away with it. Looney moves in. This is surely an ice block, and they will get it. They can now switch to Acro, start crunching away at another member of the team. They still haven't got the vital cooldown anti-magic zone or anti-magic shield, and Wildcard Gaming are looking solid to make it to the grand finals.
Yeah, they're looking good. Leg sweep on Fried Kitty. He trinkets out. Iron Bark looking to deny the kill. Fried Kitty has to hold on a little bit longer. They turn their attention over onto Acro. Luna gets caught into a full polymorph, and now Zeepai's in trouble. He has the anti-magic shell. They shred through it. 52% dampening. He's got no self-healing. Looney has to start finding some heals. Anti-magic zone gets used. Bash coming in from Minpoike. Great crowd control. Looney still in trouble. Life Cocoon gets used. Full stun now over onto Acro. Fried Kitty trying to do as much crowd control as possible. Manages to find a polymorph onto Looney. Do they have the damage to take down Zeepai? Full bind on Looney. He's trying to stay alive. Acro's also low in the meantime. This could be a cross kill. I don't know if Zeepai's going to be able to hold on.
Yes.
Nice counterspell by Fried Kitty. Zeepai, I don't think you're getting out of this one. And ultimately Change My Mind in a beautiful game. Managed to hold on and send Wildcard Gaming straight out of the tournament.
All it took was a mild 56% dampening there from Change My Mind, but they find the drinks, they find the kill, and for the first time, I believe, in the entire... Rather play the mirror, they fancy the mirror, ABC's winning the mirror.
But that was a month ago at the spring final. I mean, maybe they found out some crazy strategy, but honestly, it looked like they were getting ran over in the previous series. We're going to see if they've done some adaptations here in game number 1.
Well, I mean, look at their name, Change My Mind. They're going to have to change their mind because we all think that this is not a good pick coming in from them. I mean, maybe they feel like if they get enough reps in this matchup that it is a favored matchup, and maybe they're right. But so far, I'm unconvinced. If they lose game number 1, it's not going to go well in the series.
Interesting, they were attacking Minpoike at the start of the match and then kind of just gave up on it immediately, and now both rogues are just going at each other. Waz looking like he wants to be dancing around onto a different target as soon as possible, and that is some of the surprise that Method Black bring on their Rogue Mage Druid, is that they will just attack anything at any moment, and if you're not ready and prepared for it, then you could simply lose at the start of the match. Delay the target, but Chaz is crowd controlled. Waz is the one in trouble. Chaz knows this, denies it entirely with the Iron Bark activated to reduce the damage and prevent the kill. Waz will begin to stabilize and then continue an attack, actually getting cycloned up, looking like they're trying to slow down the ramp. Neither team really blowing any significant amount of cooldowns. Only the Icy Veins for Raikou and Shadow Fiend of Valet. Vendettas are available, so the Rogues are the most threatening player in the game at this moment in time. Which Rogue is going to get the setups? We've seen some flashy plays from Acro. He's had a lot of games to warm up on at this point. Perhaps that could be part of the reason that Changed My Mind find victory here, whereas Method Black, unless they were queuing in some war games or on the ladder in between, they might be not as warmed up. Waz behind the corner, but activated Feint before this stun. It may not actually be enough. Very low on health, multiple Gladiators Maledicts. Chaz is comfortable despite Waz being so low on health. Connecting some heals, looking for a clone, but gets cloned himself. Well done by Minpoike. Acro setting up potentially for the win here if they can stay on target. Waz has cooldowns, now finally trading evasion, ducking for cover to avoid the Vendetta pressure of Acro. Waz now has Vendetta of his own to lead the charge, and really curious where he decides to allocate that, because right now there's no real target that's too great. Looks like they're going to go after Acro. They're dropping Smoke Bomb. They're baiting Acro. Actually, now they waited until the last second of the stun to commit the Vendetta and then trying to make Acro choke, but Acro did not choke in that position. Trades out the cooldowns, but even making the trade is very far behind.
Yeah, Evasion, Cloak of Shadows, Trinket no longer available. Waz, on the other hand, he still has his Trinket and Cloak of Shadows. He should be A-okay. Raiku's still generating some pressure for his team. Chaz goes into the bash. Waz now is the one that's vulnerable. He reverses the pressure onto Acro. Kleptomania Spell Steal coming in from Raikou. Acro's going to be completely clean of the skill over time effects. Minpoike is going to have to play a little bit of catch-up in this matchup, and you can see his mana is getting taxed. This is what we saw in the upper bracket finals between these two teams. It's a similar story where Method Black, they had a lot of control of the matchup. They even had the mana lead. Luckily, Minpoike's been doing a pretty good job in this matchup so far, holding onto his mana. You can see Innervate basically even for both of these healers as well. If Chaz can ever go sit away for a drink, it's going to be really scary for Change My Mind.
I will say that they're not attacking Valet nearly as much in this matchup. Method Black have switched their strategies, all of their focus on Acro. They're not really bouncing between targets. Waz mind controlled, but Chaz is drinking. Chaz will have a significant lead, and very important in this matchup as it is expected to go on until dampening. So Chaz should return to the fight with basically full mana, but now walking into crowd control from Minpoike. Can Raikou stop the follow-up? Doesn't look like they even bothered to go for it. Silence into potentially Mind Bomb instead. They're going to go for the safe guaranteed route. They don't go for the Mind Bomb. Crowd control chain botched by Change My Mind. They had a bit of an opportunity there to get some big cooldowns like the Gladiator's Medallion from Waz, and again, Change My Mind, I feel like they're just playing from behind. They aren't getting nearly as sharp crowd control chains as we expect them to. Method Black now looking to get one of their own. I mean, 3 members in crowd control. None of them can help each other. Acro's taken a ton of damage in game number 1. You don't want to lose the swing match advantage. They're patiently holding on to Void Shift. They managed to make it out alive. That was a bold statement to sit through all that crowd control. No trade on cooldowns, but they make it out alive, and perhaps on an even footing to push forward to find a kill. Chaz is crowd controlled, and Waz is now in trouble.
Yeah, Cloak of Shadows, but he held on to the Trinket, and I think he's going to be okay. Chaz is able to find some heals, still has the Iron Bark. Just 1 cooldown. Waz has been doing a really good job staying cool in these situations where he's being targeted down. Goes for the Shadow Step Kidney Shot over on Minpoike. Vanish Cheap Shot as well, putting out decent amounts of damage. Actually, the Shadow Mill Cheap Shot no longer going to have that available, and could be vulnerable to Maledicts later on. You can see Waz, he's still all over Minpoike. Minpoike having to play catch-up. His mana's being taxed heavily. Acro backs him up with a Kidney Shot, but Raikou in a good position to continue the damage. And a beautiful Cyclone coming in from Chaz freezes up Minpoike's HP or his hit points, and if Waz can land a full stun, Minpoike could definitely be in a situation where he has to trade out his Trinket.
Valet knows that Waz wants to stun out of the Cyclone, so he used mind control to stop Waz from doing it, and hopefully allow Minpoike to recover. I mean, he's not entirely healthy right now at about 50% health, and he's running Balance Affinity, so he can't rely on Frenzied Regeneration to be able to recover in this situation. He needs his team's support, and so far he has managed to stabilize despite that disadvantage. Smoke Bomb available for both rogues, but Gladiators and Medallions available on all 6 players, so no big power play there for either side. Waz gets engaged on right when he wanted to go after Minpoike, so nice counter engagement by Acro. They drop Smoke Bomb on this attempt, but again, even with a Smoke Bomb, all they're getting is a feint, and feint is non-consequential really when you commit such a powerful cooldown. Acro has now gone for Vendetta. Waz trades evasion. Fair trade on that part. Mana, surprisingly even, despite the fact that Chaz found a drink and perhaps changed my mind, can win this matchup if they maintain that mana advantage, but I believe that Chaz is sitting down for a drink. Valet is looking to stop it, but he gets intercepted. How much mana did he manage to get? Minpoike is now likely sitting down for a drink. Chaz is essentially full. Minpoike needs to reset his as well if they even want to have a chance here in game number 1, but it's looking like he should have. Okay, he didn't. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, Raku going to be spamming out damage, still trying to get pressure rolling onto Acro. Chaz has the trinket out of the blind of Acro. Good triple crowd control coming in. Valet gets interrupted. Bash on him, Minpoike. Cheap shot on Acro. This is a great setup coming in from Method Black. Unfortunately, Minpoike was able to dodge that Ring of Frost a little bit late in coming there by Raikou. And as a result, I think Acro's going to be completely fine. And now it's Waz that's in trouble. Cyclone on Chaz. He has to dispel Waz. Does get caught up in that psychic horror from Valet, dispelling that vampiric touch. Now kidney shot over onto Minpoike as they make a swap onto him, trying to keep him guessing in this matchup. And that's one thing Method Black has been doing consistently in these games so far, is they're really keeping Change My Mind guessing. They can take down Acro, they can take down Valet, they can take down Minpoike at any moment, and it makes it really difficult to play solid defense for Change My Mind.
Change My Mind, certainly the most improved roster, I would say, globally at this point. Now finally making it to their first grand finals. They have a good shot to take out Method Black. They feel confident in this Rogue Shadow Priest Druid, although we at the desk do not. Perhaps they can pull off a victory, pull off a miracle, and take out Method Black and take dominance in the European region and show their rise to power here today. They have that opportunity, but they could potentially be throwing it away based on their composition picks. They seem to be reluctant to go into the mirror. Perhaps a lack of confidence. We'll have to find out later in the series if they decide to make that decision. Should they not be able to find victory, they're holding out. They barely got any mana left. It's now close to 20% dampening, reducing the healing in the match by close to 20% at this point in time. Chaz's ability to be able to sneak away from the fight and drink is the main reason why Method Black at this point have such a big advantage.
Yep, definitely going to be having an advantage moving forward. And honestly, every time these teams go head-to-head with these two compositions, they seem to have a massive lead, and that's why we're just so puzzled by Change My Mind. They haven't really been changing too much up in this particular matchup. Now going after Raikou, maybe a bit of a strategy change here, but I don't think at any point they were able to even force out a single ice block when we saw the last time these two teams met up. So I don't know if that's the strategy change they really need. I don't know what they're trying to improve or differ in this matchup. Maybe now in dampening, Raikou becomes a vulnerable target, but it's still Valet that's on the back foot. It's Dispersion. It's going to be forced out. Minpoike is almost completely tapped on mana. He's going for crowd control on Chaz. And as a result, I mean, they're getting pressure onto Raikou, but Minpoike's expended a lot of his mana using those Cyclones, not really having an opportunity to drink. Raikou goes into an ice block, and maybe this is the point in the game where things snowball out of control and Raikou can actually be taken down after they get through the two ice blocks, but I'm still not convinced.
You know, I've changed my mind, managed to win here. What comp do Method Black play? Is it just the same? They just go for this? Maybe it's a 50-50. Is that their best odds, or is there actually a different comp that they could run? Good crowd control combo here with Raikou and Chaz both casting at the same time, and Poike just can't avoid it, opting to go for being hibernated over polymorphed so that he can't be polymorphed further into the future. Valet, though, in a lot of trouble. He's completely isolated. Once again, out of line of sight of a Void Shift, potentially. Would he want to use it on Minpoike? I feel like he would prefer to use it on Minpoike so he can break crowd control.
Ooh.
But Minpoike is now stunned. Once again, Waz making the mid-game adaptation, switching his stun, which is normally used on the target he's attacking, instead used on the healer to deny healing right towards potentially the end of the match. Lei is still such low on health, but he wants to push forward. His team has secured crowd control. They have a window of opportunity to get the last ice block, but they have to do it with a sliver of health remaining. They're pushing for it. Can they push far enough to get it? Iron Bark activates. It needs to be enough. Raikou holding out with that as his defense and now looking to counter-attack both Valet and Raikou at such low health and making very big power plays. And Poike Cyclone, Acro's Poly. Valet's in a 3-on-1, trades out Fade to immune incoming attacks, and Survival as Healer and Rogue are crowd controlled and unable to assist. Both teams survive the assault, and it looks like both teams are kind of pulling away. Raikou waiting for Acro, who is now opened on to him. Smoke bomb play. Chaz jumps in. He can now easily heal Raikou. Good response, although getting interrupted. Acro once again setting up the team for victory, but Minpoike needs to get him out of the polymorph. He's not in line of sight. Acro is being left in a lot of crowd control, which means that Raikou can build up a ton of pressure. Now Frost Nova on Acro. Minpoike does manage to finally dispel Acro out and allow him to reconnect. And as he reconnects, Chaz is forced to Iron Bark. This is coming down to the wire. I mean, Change My Mind still have a good shot.
Yep, kidney shot on Raikou. This is definitely the best game we've seen out of Change My Mind. 36% dampening. The offensive dispel coming in from
Beautiful
Jalea
kick.
is really strong. Acro once again making plays. Kick onto Chaz. Raikou could be in some trouble, but keep in mind if Raikou decides to just use Shimmer to blink away, there's no opportunity for Acro to really reconnect. He doesn't have the cooldowns he needs if he just gets snared up. Raikou just spamming Frostbolts into that Cyclone, trying to connect a snare, trying to just build some damage for his team. This is an opportunity here for Method Black to go after Acro if they really want to. Minpoike completely tapped on mana. Keep in mind, although there's been good damage onto Raikou, he still has an Ice Block. Chaz has a mana lead. Acro could just fall easily. There's a Cyclone on him. Minpoike. Valet gets locked out. Void Shift comes in, but now they don't have that safety net to fall back on. I just don't know if Acro's ever going to recover, and he doesn't. Method Black in the grand finals up 1-0 against Change.
There was a time where we saw Rogue Mage finals in the European tournaments time and time again, and finally we are back at that here today. Method Black going to be going up against Change My Mind on a tear, and they can finally have the opportunity to show off the Rogue Mage Druid, which they exclusively played for almost the entirety of the spring season. Ooh. They now have an opportunity to go against Method Black and assert dominance. Are they, in fact, the greatest Rogue Mage?
Ooh, Waz gets a sap on Minpoike. What is the strategy? It looks like full kidney shot's going to be used. Frozen Orb, they're going all in on Minpoike. Acro trying to deny, gets the kidney shot into a polymorph onto Waz. And Minpoike, I think, should be able to survive. Bash coming in. Are they going to be able to get the Ring of Frost? They do manage to find it. Now, who's the target of choice for Change My Mind in this matchup? They haven't got any damage rolling whatsoever. They did manage to find a full Ring of Frost on Chaz, but there's just no damage. Raiku's been doing a great job with control. Minpoike is just being trained down in the matchup so far. Finally, they get off him. They get the Iron Bark available, now making a swap over onto Acro. Good offense here from Method Black.
Yeah, Waz really mixing it up, trying to separate Minpoike from Acro by attacking Minpoike early on and then smoke bombing Acro when they're separated and far apart, and that gets them evasion. Big cooldown forced from Acro. Cooldown-wise, I would say Change My Mind are behind, but they're going for the more standard strategy of attacking the mage. So Raikou is having a really difficult time doing anything right now. He's isolated. This could be an ice block if they can push forward. Raikou's out of line of sight. Acro wants to connect. He is finally able to with the Shadow Step. Perfect stun lock. Can they get it? They got 8 more seconds. They drop the smoke bomb, but then they Cyclone him at the same time. They can at least switch the Cyclone, but Acro didn't look like he was really ready. He was out of position, but Ursul's Vortex pulls Raikou right back to Acro. They need to get a block on this push. They need to get a block on this push, and they do it. They get the first block. Acro blinded by Waz. Waz was desperately trying to hold on to the ice block, but now Chaz's polymorph. Big mistakes on the side of Method Black. Perhaps just the end of the game here. Game number 2 on Tolvaron. Fried Kitty is low, but he's going for the kill. They've got a window. 28 more seconds to that Iron Bark. They cycle on Raikou beautifully at low health. Change My Mind playing the standard strategy on the mage and really owning right now.
Yeah, Minpoike has been doing a phenomenal job in this game so far with his Cyclones, really carrying his team, creating lots of windows of opportunity. But it looks like Raikou does fully recover. Kidney shot coming in from Acro. Unfortunately, I think it was on diminishing return, so a bit of a mistake there by Acro. It's going to be a limited stun on Raikou, which allows him to get freed up. Those stuns are just so important for the rogue. It locks down your target and allows you to get off a lot of significant damage. We can see now Acro still just being targeted down. Frozen Orb gets dropped out. Method Black looking to strike back on Acro. They're behind in the mage race. Can they just take down the rogue? There's no evasion. There's no Cloak of Shadows. There's no trinket. Acro's actually such a great target right now.
Beautiful pre-Iron Bark on the blind. Chaz anticipated that because he did not have Player's Medallion, but he's still it may not even matter. I mean, Raikou is taking a beating right now. The standard strategy is looking a lot more effective in the Rogue Mage mirror. Method Black spent a lot of time fooling around, and it's costing them a lot of cooldowns. 2 ice blocks out of the way, although still 1 out of the way for Fried Kitty. Method Black, if they can make a good push, could tie it up.
Yeah, I mean, Fried Kitty now still has an advantage. If we look at mana, though, Minpoike, like I said, he's been going absolutely insane with those Cyclones. He's behind on mana, but it might not matter. Minpoike gets locked out. Raiku's the one that's in trouble. Waz trying to do everything he can. You can see Acro in a full polymorph. Cyclone on Minpoike. Fried Kitty in a kidney shot. Method Black doing an excellent job reversing the pressure. They get the interrupt on Fried Kitty. He's trying to get out a polymorph, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Chaz in a really good position right now with that balance affinity. Chaz now into a cheap shot, into a full polymorph. This is the game-winning setup for Change My Mind. Is Raikou going to be able to hold on?
Minpoike is star surging, looking for Cyclone, gets shut down. Perfect shutdown by Raikou. If they'd continued that crowd control, there was nothing left for Raikou to stay alive. So Raikou keeping himself in the fight with a perfectly timed counter spell. Minpoike looks like he needs to drink, and Chaz is not going to let him. Looking for Hibernate, looking for Ring at the same time. Perfect crowd control casting by Raikou and Chaz. This now has isolated Fried Kitty. This has given Method Black an opportunity to even out the ice blocks. They need to continue the chain, but they've stopped Chaz with counter spell, so they drop Smoke Bomb to make sure they get the second ice block. Method Black keep themselves in the game.
Yeah, it's a tie ball game. Fried Kitty's still low. Are they going to be able to get anything going? Raikou does use both of his shimmers. If Acro can reconnect, it's going to be big. There's a full Cyclone onto onto Chaz, and now Raikou's vulnerable. He's in a full kidney shot and a smoke bomb. Does Fried Kitty have any damage? Unfortunately, he's in a kidney shot himself.
Well done.
Waz still trying to do the best he can. There's a Cyclone onto Chaz. Then you can see Waz, he's trying to peel up Minpoike to prevent any of the incoming crowd control. Raikou does manage to barely hold on off the back of that Iron Bark, but a nice Cyclone once again comes in from Minpoike. Now, Change My Mind. If they can get crowd control on Chaz, they find the sap.
Ooh, Chaz wrapping around the corner, dipping out of combat, getting sapped and having to trinket it. This means when he gets blinded, it's game over. It may just be game over right now. The damage of Change My Mind is insane. Why did they not just go for the mirror 4 games ago? There's the blind. This has to be the end of the game. Waz and Raikou have to carry while Chaz is crowd controlled. Somehow, the pressure is not high. This is not the amount of damage I anticipated with the blind. Raikou should easily be dead. They still continue it, but they have not used Polymorph Diminishing Return. They did not get a sap. Perhaps Acro should have waited to go for the blind play. Raikou holds out. Now Minpoike is crowd controlled. Fried Kitty doesn't have any ice blocks. Both mages in a lot of trouble. Raikou stunned up. Chaz has Iron Bark available, is going to commit it and stabilize him in this position. Vendetta for Acro. No Iron Bark for Chaz, no ice blocks for Raikou for at least another minute, so Acro still has an opportunity to win this. Waz setting up a Shadow Step kick. Acro looking like he wants to make a play. How are they going to set this up? Fried Kitty, he's scared. He's trying to run away. Raikou is just teeing off at this point with lots of Frost Bolts. Fried Kitty looking to reverse the pressure. Kidney shot. Raikou trinkets, blinks back defensively. Acro in hot pursuit. Vendetta is rolling. This is a lot of damage.
Ooh.
Acro's looking to win the game for the team. Setting up the cheap shot. Fried Kitty moves in. He needs to get it. He gets the polymorph. Once again, Raikou and Waz have to carry Chaz, but Waz is Frost Nova at midfield. Raikou is polymorphing Acro to just stay alive. They drop the chain. Chaz is out of crowd control. He has Iron Bark. He should be able to stabilize. Once again, Raikou, Live Lord.
Yeah, great job by Raikou. A lot of moments, but now it's Fried Kitty who's in trouble. Minpoike, he's got no trinket. He throws out the Iron Bark to keep Fried Kitty alive. He's trying to kite away, trying to maneuver, gets crowd control onto Waz to stabilize. Is there going to be a full Ring of Frost onto Chaz? No, Garrote Silence coming in from Waz. That shuts down the crowd control. Fried Kitty, unfortunately, not able to find the crowd control that they need. And now Raikou, I think he's bought himself enough time. He's in a kidney shot right now, but he's got 5 seconds left on Cold Snap. Are they going to be able to take him down before Cold Snap? 1 second left in the cheap shot. They don't have the damage. Is Raikou going to hold on? He's going to greet it, go for the double ice block, interrupt over onto Chaz. This could cost Raikou the game. Is he going to be able to hold on? Does manage to buy himself enough time, and now it's Fried Kitty on the back foot. He still doesn't have his ice block for another 56 seconds. Minpoike completely out of mana. Chaz in the blind uses a trinket to stay alive in the fight to keep the aggression going.
You have to kill Waz and Smoke Bomb. You don't have a choice. You've got no time left. There's 2 ice blocks for Raikou. He pops Icy Veins. Fried Kitty, there's no way you should make it out alive. If Raikou even gets 1 flurry, Fried Kitty is going to explode. Chaz is getting perfect Cyclones chained together. Polymorph out of it. Beautifully done by Method Black. They've managed to pull it back together off of Raikou's perfect defensive play. And Fried Kitty's looking like he is going to fall. How on earth is he still alive at this point?
He's
holding on, but ultimately falling. Method Black continue their lead 2-0.
Heartbreaking.
My mind, we're running. Curious to see if there is any shenanigans, if we see any Druid rushdowns, as that has been done in the past between Rogue Mage mirrors. Raikou and Fried Kitty are just going into center field and casting Frost Bolts on each other. They're going to be generating Icicles, which deal a ton of burst damage. Fried Kitty actually just tossing his out immediately onto Raikou. A little bit of a bold statement. The 1v1 in the middle continues, whereas Raikou holds on to his Icicles, which makes me wonder, who is he actually going to be attacking? Maybe it isn't Fried Kitty.
Yeah, it looks like Waz, he got sapped into a Frost Nova. He has to use his Vanish. He wants to play a little bit of defense here for Raikou, as that would have been a disastrous opener, now getting aggressive. Nicely done by Waz. I really like just using the Vanish, turning this opener on its head. Changed my mind now on the back foot. Minpoike into a Cyclone. Is he going to manage to find him follow crowd control? Minpoike didn't actually get put in crowd control, and they still managed to get that first ice block. I don't know what kind of burst damage they had available, but that might have been too early of an ice block, but Fried Kitty does manage to hold on, and at least they didn't overlap it with that precious Iron Bark from Minpoike.
Yep, definitely good that they didn't overlap, but Minpoike continues to get crowd controlled. Method Black looking like they're solid to push for second ice block and potentially the third game and put Change My Mind on match point. But as I say that, Fried Kitty secures crowd control on Chaz, and Raikou is once again on the run. Can Raikou hold out long enough? 3 members of the team crowd controlled. He can't. He is forced to ice block. Now we are even on ice blocks between the two teams. And even though they had the edge early on, that is going to be a breath for Change My Mind to potentially take a game here and maybe have a comeback in the series.
Yeah, Waz, nice peels, cheap shot on Acro, full kitty shot over onto Fried Kitty, and you can see Minpoike, he's caught into a cheap, or a polymorph as well, into a full Cyclone. This could easily be the second ice block. Acro looking to turn around the pressure with a full kidney shot on Raikou. He's got no trinket, he has to sit at full. Chaz runs into the smoke bomb, gets the Iron Bark, and that should be enough to keep him alive, and now it's Fried Kitty that's in trouble. Minpoike still just holding on to that Iron Bark, saving it for a rainy day, but he has the healing he needs to keep Fried Kitty alive. Finally, a full kitty shot gets committed over from Waz onto Fried Kitty, and a Cyclone actually follows that up from Chaz. Nicely done, and now Fried Kitty is not going to be able to get topped off. It's going to slow down some of this offense, and unfortunately Acro, he commits the full kidney shot, but Fried Kitty was in a Cyclone. Now Acro's in a full Cyclone. Chaz single-handedly completely shut down that attempt on Raikou.
All right, let's see who gets to do the first attack. Waz initiates with a stun. Chaz gets follow-up. Raikou blocks out Fried Kitty. They're making a swap to Acro, looking to kill him in a bursty fashion, but unable to do so. Minpoike denies the kill. Method Black, once again, showing that they are willing to mix it up and go on different targets, whereas Change My Mind have solely committed their attacks to Raikou throughout.
Yeah, man, I mean, in the first game, they were ahead. They managed to get both of Raikou's ice blocks, but ultimately it was Fried Kitty that fell after some nice clean setups coming in from Method Black in this matchup. Raikou has actually still not used his Cold Snap, so it's a risky play for Raikou. If they do manage to force him to use that Cold Snap, use that ice block, he's going to be so far behind on that third ice block.
Ooh, big
I don't know
swap.
if they're going to need it. Minpoike, caught into the kidney shot, caught into the bash, manages to escape with his life for now. And I think he's going to be able to stabilize his health, but that was a really beautiful attempt there by Method Black. And now Minpoike is in a very dangerous situation. He's got no bar skin, he's got no trinket, he's in a full blind. Fried Kitty into a full kidney shot. Method Black all over the place, styling on Change My Mind at this point. And Fried Kitty is just so far behind on ice blocks.
Method Black are just continuing to play on their toes, and Change My Mind cannot keep up with the constant swaps, the constant switch-ups that Method Black are throwing their way. And I mean, I can confidently say that I think Method Black could take this 4-0 if they can keep this up. Change My Mind finally changing up their strategies, trying to go after Chaz. Chaz sees it coming. He's already in bear form. He takes basically 0 damage as a result of that predicted attack. So now they go for blind instead. They do at least bank his Glider's Medallion, but they're behind on one ice block. Raikou has Cold Snap, and potentially 2 if he can hold out for another minute. Icy Veins is rolling. He's got Frozen Orb. This could be a big attack. Smoke Bomb available as well. Waz could just close the game out. Minpoike's crowd controlled. Acro can't support. If Waz connects, surely Fried Kitty will go down. Minpoike doing everything he can. Casting Cyclone, looking to try and stall it out. Waz knows that they've got the game in the bag if they can connect with this next big hit. So he uses Cloak of Shadows to stay on target. Kidney shot, Shadow Step kick, beautiful setup, but Acro looks to punish Waz for that aggressive stance on Cloak of Shadows, potentially switching, but Fried Kitty not able to support with too much damage just yet. Minpoike continues with follow-up crowd control, potentially an overextension of Waz, definitely being abused right now by Change My Mind.
Yeah, Waz a little bit low, has to drop out a defensive smoke bomb to avoid some damage coming from Fried Kitty. He has the Icy Veins. He's been able to put out a lot of pressure in the matchup. Full Ring of Frost onto Chaz. He got the Iron Bark preemptively, though, onto Waz, who's now into a stun. Acro looking to close out the game. Can he take down Waz? He's almost got his trinket. Evasion's rolling up. He has Vendetta. Waz could reverse the pressure onto Fried Kitty, who still has no ice blocks for another 45 seconds. This could be the setup that they need. Kidney shot, Kleptomania. Waz still reluctant to use the the Vendetta. And it looks like Chaz is just going to be using the Cyclone to freeze up Fried Kitty's health for now.
Yep, freeze it up for now. Mana, though, could be the name of the game. How well is Chaz doing? Not too well, actually. Changed my mind with a bit of a lead there, but Ice Blocks, 2 for Raikou, none for around 20 seconds for Fried Kitty. Although Waz could be an option. I'm curious if Change My Mind mix it up here. Method Black has been mixing it up throughout and really catching Change My Mind off guard. It looks like they do want to target down Waz. Chaz cannot heal in Cyclone, but Acro is the one actually in trouble. Waz is trying to make a decision whether or not to go aggressive. He does get caught in midfield. Stunned up, but Chaz is there, ready and waiting with that Iron Bark. So they cycle on Waz instead, waiting for Iron Bark's defense to fall, then looking to make a move later on. I mean, at this point, do you abandon trying to kill the mage if you know that Raikou has 2 ice blocks? Like, do you have to go after the rogue? It sort of feels like you do at this point.
Well, the thing is, when you're on the rogue, you lose a lot of that control over the mage, and these setups, these opportunities that Method Black is finding on him and Poike could be very dangerous. Kidney shot into Bash. Do they have the damage? And Poike trying to escape, but the Garrote silence from Waz will freeze any of his healing for now. He manages to find another one. Can Waz take him down? Raikou needs to get in line of sight, but unfortunately he's just caught into a polymorph, and Poike dodges around everybody, finding the full Bash in the polymorph onto Chaz. Nicely done by Poike, turning that situation around, and now it's Changed My Mind that has pressure onto Waz, and you can see Waz, no Cloak of Shadows, no evasion, no trinket. He's a prime target here for Change My Mind, but Poike once again getting swapped to. This is a scary situation.
I mean, it's a race at this point. Kill Waz before he kills Minpoike, because Waz is just going to go all out. Acro supports, he stuns Waz. Chaz saves him. Minpoike is still low. Raikou gets stunned. Raikou just wants to finish this, but he needs to get control and allow Waz to stay on target. So he's polymorphing Acro. Minpoike gets cloned at low health. Waz, though, goes for the stun on Acro instead. A bit surprised to not see them try and just kill Minpoike and finish the game. But this game has shifted gears. It's no longer a mage race. It seems to be a swap to the healer or tunnel down the rogue. It's interesting how this strategy has adapted throughout the entire series between both teams. Neither Druid really has any mana remaining. Dampening is going up. Minpoike is trying to drink. His team does have defense to trade. Chaz is trying to stop it. Chaz jumps over, but he jumps into a stun. Minpoike can engage crowd control. There's no interrupt. He's cycloned. Waz could be in trouble. There's no evasion, but he's actually just going for the kill. He knows Minpoike doesn't have mana. Maybe he can just power through with pressure, and it's looking dicey. Minpoike gets caught. He's polymorphed. Acro in a bit of trouble. He interrupts Cyclone. He's on the run. He's out of line of sight of Raikou. Double Ring of Frost defensively from Fried Kitty is stalling the assault so far, but Minpoike is still crowd controlled. He does not want to have to trinket. They drop the smoke bomb. They go for a big power play on Waz. Raikou blinks into the bomb, but gets interrupted on the peel. Waz is still low, but Chaz manages to make it in and get the Iron Bark, which is keeping Waz alive at this moment in time.
That was a really nice play there by Acro. I'm not sure it's going to end up mattering, but good teamwork between Fried Kitty and Acro, baiting Waz to move in, and they managed to get a good opener on him. And that might actually close out the game. Chaz still into a polymorph. Waz has to play evasive right now, and Acro's the one that's getting hit. Raikou doing a lot of damage. Waz has to drink out of the kidney shot. Is he going to be able to reverse the pressure over onto Acro? Waz trades out the evasion. Cloak of Shadows, basically his entire defensive arsenal to survive the setup, but Chaz, he's still in a blind. The crowd control's not over. Waz forced to use blind on Acro defensively, and things are spiraling out of control here for Method Black.
Things are spiraling out of control, but he could blind sap, kidney shot Acro, pop Vendetta, and 100-0 the rogue if they can crowd control Minpoike at the same time. Waz is polymorph. Both teams are just stalling right now, waiting to find a target. Very surprising to see Fried Kitty as the target. I mean, I guess they might just get an ice block off of it, but Acro is far more vulnerable. They get Iron Bark. Perhaps they switch targets. If they go after Acro with Vendetta, it looks like they're actually pressuring Chaz a bit. Fried Kitty is just attacking Chaz almost randomly, but it could open an opportunity to kill him in a stun. Both teams, I mean, at this point, it's absolutely insane. Minpoike gets sapped when he was trying to drink. Acro is in a lot of trouble. Fortunately, he saw the attack coming and activated Feint. It reduced a lot of damage during the stun. Minpoike now breaks out of crowd control. Acro looks to reverse the pressure. He's got a sliver of health. Raikou is just trying to finish him. Waz could be in trouble, but manages to survive. Vendetta is still rolling. Acro is so low. Minpoike has nothing for 10 more seconds. Acro is looking like he's going to be going down. Method Black in the driver's seat. Acro barely holding on. Stun connects. He decides to tap out. We don't very often see a player on their statistics chart. It feels like they haven't played it in forever, and then they're just trouncing here in the finals against Change My Mind. And if they've got the rogue mages, they've got the melee cleaves, they've got the spellcaster cleaves. Method Black looks like a team that could just take the entire globe.
I mean, they've always kind of looked that way, to be fair. I mean, for a while now, they've been really well adapted, especially since Swapsy has been in. I think the main problem they have is sometimes they just have so many options, they don't know exactly what they should be picking. But in this particular matchup, it's obvious. They want to play that Rogue Mage Druid, and I think anytime they can play that, they're happy to do so. And you can bet Swapsy's probably sitting on the sidelines cheering his team on, really happy that they're taking on such a great team like Change My Mind in a mirror match.
All right, let's see if they can do it. Minpoike is crowd controlled early on. Method Black have always made it so tricky to decide who are they actually going to attack, and it throws teams for a loop, especially Change My Mind, whereas Change My Mind, they're slowly but surely edging their way into sort of mixing it up as well. And if we get to the point where Change My Mind are making swaps, switching targets frequently, such as Method Black is doing, then this could reverse sweep. This could go all the way to a game number 7. But right now, Acro's in a lot of trouble. Smoke Bomb is preventing Minpoike from healing him. Multiple Gladiators Maledicts incoming. Acro isn't receiving healing as Minpoike is cycloned, but Iron Bark activated before the crowd control is stabilizing him. Cycloned at low health by Chaz. What's Minpoike going to do? Well, his rogue is cycloned at low health. Waz looks to try and set up. He gets a re-stealth, goes for the cheap shot. That sets up for crowd control, but they don't get the follow-up. He gets disrupted by Acro. Beautiful interrupt. Minpoike still needs to dodge polymorphs. He's max ranging away from Raikou. Does not want to get caught off guard by one of those, but Chaz is now in position to cycle him. Minpoike wild charges out of range of it. Chaz looks like he wants to re-stealth and maybe go for a stun into Cyclone, but the longer he stays in cat form like this, he's not healing Raikou or Waz. Chaz now giving up that in a kidney shot.
Ooh, nice bear form.
Are they going to switch targets? It looks like they are going to try and switch targets to Chaz and kill him through Barkskin and bear form. It seems unlikely that they will be able to do. Chaz once again reading the situation well.
Yeah, that was excellently done. I mean, that's the first time we've seen in this series they really go after Chaz. So the fact that he had the heads-up play to be in bear form, avoid a lot of that damage, speaks volume to what a phenomenal player he really is. Full blind now secured on him and Poike, but who is their target? Who are they going after? What are they trying to accomplish with this blind? Poike gets caught into a Ring of Frost. He's deciding to trinket out of that immediately as Frog Kitty was caught into a kidney shot, but they overlap their trinkets. Now the next time we see Minpoike in crowd control, Frog Kitty could be in some trouble, but Change My Mind, they're going after Chaz. He's got no Barkskin, he's got no trinket. Forced to use his Iron Bark, but he's still in trouble. Ray of Frost being channeled. Chaz finally gets out of line of sight, avoiding damage. See Waz trying to back him up just a little bit. Acro lands a cheap shot onto Waz into a kidney shot. Are they going to be able to find any sort of significant damage? It doesn't look like it just yet, but you can see Method Black, they're actually behind in terms of mana.
I mean, they're behind in terms of everything at this point. Change My Mind are finally getting some momentum here, looking like they're at least going to be able to put a point on the board. Smoke Bomb gets dropped from Acro. He's trying to set up a kill on Waz and also prevent Waz's pressure with this Vendetta currently activated. So a bit of a 2-for-1 on that Smoke Bomb. Even though they don't get the kill, they stall a kill attempt by Waz. Now they mix it up. They go after Chaz again. They get his Glider's Medallion. Now Blind is a potential win condition moving forward as Waz is limited in his defense at this current moment in time. Change My Mind have the mana lead. They have the cooldown lead respectively as well, and perhaps can swing this back if they keep it up. But now Method Black once again go for an attack on Minpoike. He saw it coming. He activated Iron Bark on himself, but is it really going to be it's match point? The first cup on the line here as Minpoike is being pressured incredibly hard and will fall to the swap. Method Black mixing it up time and time again.
Yeah, it goes from a 60-point gap to a 100-point gap now between Wildcard Gaming and Method Black. And bear in mind, Method Black have come in the top 2 of all 7 cups so far this year. So even if the next 5 they came second, Wildcard Gaming would have to come first in all of those to even get the same number of points. That is starting to look like an insurmountable lead. Of course, Waz and the boys are going to be so happy with that, since BlizzCon is ultimately really difficult for these European teams right now, since Cloud9 took the spot from Spring Finals. Quite frankly, globally, there's less spots at BlizzCon this